The boyfriend's junior was tracked down by creditors. I tried to stop my boyfriend from getting involved, but to my surprise, the junior was driven to suicide by the creditors and swallowed sleeping pills. The boyfriend acted as if nothing had happened and prepared to marry me. One day after getting drunk, he lovingly caressed a photo of his junior and forced me to swallow a bottle of sleeping pills. He said that if it weren't for my coldness and selfishness, how could my junior have committed suicide? If I could live again, I would never meddle in their affairs. 1. Honey, how much money do you have left? Xiaorou's family is here again, and you know we're on good terms. Those people said that if we don't pay back the money today, they'll sell Xiaorou. I was momentarily dazed, the lump in my throat still not gone, and my sleeve was tightly gripped by a large hand. I was reborn. Back to the day when Shenhaoren was borrowing money everywhere for Bai Xiaorou. Bai Xiaorou is his junior, and she lives up to her name, gentle and delicate, with beautiful features. However, she has a father addicted to gambling. It's said that over the years, he borrowed a lot of high-interest loans and eventually committed suicide for being unable to repay them, leaving behind a beautiful daughter who is constantly hounded by creditors. To be fair, Shenhaoren treated me quite well, and everyone knew he loved me deeply. In my past life, he borrowed money everywhere for Bai Xiaorou, saying she was like a real sister to him, and he couldn't bear to see her, a young girl, get involved in such a dirty mess. So, I didn't think much of it, but Bai Xiaorou's father owed a total of over 80 million, and it was no easy feat to come up with that kind of money. Moreover, the creditors were all involved in the underworld. Getting entangled with them could easily cost you your life. Naturally, I didn't want my soon-to-be fiancé to be held back by such matters, so in my previous life, I gave Shenhaoren all my savings, with the condition that he stay out of Bai Xiaorou's affairs and focus on preparing for our wedding. But to my surprise, Bai Xiaorou committed suicide by overdosing on sleeping pills. I felt a deep sense of regret upon hearing this news, a young girl burdened with such a father. Shenhaoren only showed a brief moment of sadness, but he didn't say anything to me. I never expected that he would kill me for Bai Xiaorou. Now, as I look at the anxious Shenhaoren in front of me, all I can think of are the words he said to me before my death. I clearly told you Xiaorou and I are not what you think, so why won't you help her? Isn't your family quite wealthy? You rich people will never understand this kind of despair. Yan Panpan, how can you be so selfish and cold-hearted? You can watch her die and still expect me to marry a woman as heartless as you. Not a single one of you rich people is any good. I laughed at this thought. My family earns tens of millions annually, and I'm an only child, so my parents looked down on Shenhaoren, who came from a rural background. They wanted me to marry someone of equal standing, but they couldn't resist my deep affection for Shenhaoren, so they cut off my financial support, hoping to force me to compromise. However, Shenhaoren harbored such intense resentment toward me because I didn't ask my family for money to save his beloved junior. 80 million. Am I supposed to sell everything I have to make him and his sweetheart happy? 2. Seeing that I remained silent, Shenhaoren tenderly cupped my face. The image I once loved now looks utterly repulsive. Honey, believe me, I just felt sorry for her and wanted to help. You know we've known each other for so long, and Xiaorou is a really nice person. She even said she really likes you. I pushed his hand away and said coldly, I don't have any money to give you. My parents cut me off financially long ago because of you. Shenhaoren seemed not to catch the sarcasm in my words. Honey, you're the only child in your family. Go explain this situation to your parents, and they'll definitely help you, won't they? I retorted. Do you like Bai Xiaorou? A flicker of guilt clearly flashed in Shenhaoren's eyes, but he quickly covered it up. How could that be, honey? Everyone knows you're the one I love the most. She's just a junior who's close to me. I just feel sorry for her and want to help, that's all. Don't overthink it, honey. I stood up, not even glancing at him. She's your friend, not mine. I'm under no obligation to help you deal with her family's issues. Shenhaoren frowned. Panpan, aren't you usually the kindest and most understanding? Why have you become so lacking in empathy now? Your family is wealthy. Your parents are alive, and you have a source of income. But what about Xiaorou? She lost her mother at a young age and has such a father. You really are like those who say, why don't they just eat meat? With that, he went into the room, retrieved his bank card, didn't say a word to me, and rushed straight to Bai Xiaorou's house. I don't know how Shenhaoren could say something so shameless and morally manipulative. As if I were the one to blame for all of Bai Xiaorou's suffering, I quickly packed my bags and sent Shenhaoren a text, let's break up. Then I blocked and deleted him in one go. This time, I wonder how long he can last without my full support. Right now, Shinharan is at a critical stage in his startup. In my previous life, I went home and begged my parents on my knees for his company, drank until I had a gastric bleed at a drinking session, and wholeheartedly helped him. And what about him? Does he really like me? On every intimate night, was he thinking of me or his deceased talented junior? 3. I returned home with my luggage, and my parents clearly looked stunned. My dad said irritably, "If it's for him, you'd better not come back. Your mom and I find it annoying to see you." Seeing my healthy middle-aged parents, my eyes immediately welled up with tears. In my previous life, after Shinharan killed me, how devastated must my parents have been upon seeing my body. Thinking of this, I sobbed uncontrollably at the door. My mother poked my father and frowned, saying, "It's all your fault for speaking so harshly. Look at how much our daughter is crying." I cried my heart out in my mother's arms, overwhelmed by regret, resentment, and all the emotions that suddenly burst forth. All right, our precious little girl, what's wrong? Did that Shinharan bully you?" I nodded. I broke up with him. I don't like him anymore. I want to go home." The expressions on my parents' faces were like a mix of relief and joy, a bit funny and amusing, as if afraid I might change my mind. My dad cautiously asked, "Is it the kind of breakup that's final?" I burst out laughing, nodded, and then recounted the whole story. My parents' faces were filled with anger. "This Shinharan, I told you this guy is no good. A perfectly fine company, and they need you, a young woman, to go out entertaining. You've been so devoted to him that you don't even come home anymore. And now he dares to turn the tables on you." At this point, I looked at my parents with a bit of guilt in my eyes. What on earth possessed me in my past life to abandon my parents for a man? "It's good to be back, good to be back." My mom gently patted my back, comforting me just like she used to when I was a child. Perhaps it was because so much had happened that day, and I was indeed exhausted, so I fell into a deep sleep. The next day, I woke up at noon. When I opened my phone, I saw 20 missed calls from Shinharan and by Sharo's social media post. In the photo, she was sitting in the passenger seat of Shinharan's car, and he was tenderly wiping away her tears, with the caption, "No matter what happens, you'll always be by my side." Even though I was mentally prepared, seeing it with my own eyes still made my heart ache. I had been with Shinharan for 6 years, and he loved me so much that our friends joked that if we didn't get married, they would never believe in love again. Yes, feelings do change, don't they? My phone buzzed, and when I picked it up, it was by Sharo. "Sister Panpan, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to post that on my moments. You know my family situation is quite complicated right now. The senior, he only stayed with me last night because he felt sorry for me. I heard you broke up with him. Please don't let it be because of me, or I'll feel really guilty." I didn't reply to her. I don't even want to bother with such a low-level green tea, posting something like that on Moments and then saying all this to me. What exactly do you want me to do? Do you want me to kneel down and beg Shinharan not to leave me? Or storm to your place and beat you up? People who knowingly become the third wheel are just as disgusting as someone like Shinharan, who bites the hand that feeds them. 4. I once accidentally saw the chat history between Shinharan and Bai Sharo. "Senior, you're so nice. I envy Sister Panpan for finding a boyfriend like you. Sister Panpan is so lucky. She has a happy family and a loving boyfriend. I wish I could be like that too. It's just that Shinharan fell for it hook, line, and sinker, insisting on calling her his sister, and would send food when she was hungry and water when she was thirsty. When my best friend heard I broke up, she insisted on dragging me out to celebrate. Seeing her lively smile, I felt unusually good. No, you have no idea how much I hate that Shinharan. Ever since you started dating him, you haven't had a meal with me in ages. Falling for love is the beginning of misfortune, and that's exactly what you're doing. Putting romance over friendship," as my best friend ranted. I put my arm around her shoulder and nodded in agreement. "My dear, it's my fault. I was blind. I misjudged people. Are you satisfied now?" My bestie finally nodded, then dragged me into all the high-end luxury stores. I felt a bit nostalgic. Ever since I started dating Shinharan, it felt like I couldn't find my old self anymore, turning into a woman who only revolved around him. Plus, with his career just taking off and him being short on cash, I hadn't visited these beloved boutiques I once loved. "Hey, isn't that Shinharan?" my bestie suddenly exclaimed, turning her head. I followed his gaze and saw him and Bai Sharo pulling a suitcase, acting a bit suspiciously, unsure of what they were up to. I had no intention of interacting with them again, but my best friend is extremely curious and insisted on dragging me over to take a look. They walked into a second-hand bag recycling shop, and I had a vague suspicion. "Isn't that the bag I gave you for your birthday a couple of years ago?" My best friend pointed to a high-end limited edition bag inside and said to me. I frowned. When I was packing up and leaving a couple of days ago, there were still some things I hadn't had time to pack. I had planned to call a moving company to bring them back in the next couple of days. I never expected Shinharan would secretly sell my bags for Bai Sharo's sake. I walked in, and the first thing Shinharan felt was guilt, which quickly turned into surprise. Pan, why are you here? Why didn't you answer my call? I was going to explain everything to you after I finished my work. You, smash. I raised my hand and slapped him across the face. Shinharan's eyes were filled with disbelief. Bai Sharo hurried over to check the mark on his face. Sister Pan, how could you hit Senior? You, smash. The second slap landed on Bai Sharo's face. It was just a reflex to hit you. The best friend was cheering beside her, and people in the shop gathered around to see what was going on. 5. Yon Pan, you shrew. Why did you hit Sharo? What did she do wrong that you're targeting her like this? Shinharan pulled Bai Sharo behind him, acting like a mother hen protecting her chicks. I pointed to the pile of bags on the table. Did you even ask for my permission to sell my bags? Shinharan's face turned red. I was just borrowing them. Not keeping them. How come I didn't know you were borrowing my bags? We're broken up now. Isn't this considered stealing someone else's property? Yon Pan, why are you so vain? It's just a bag. Sell it if you want. You can always buy another one, but you can't buy a human life. Do you really want to watch someone be driven to death before you're happy? Shinharan got more and more agitated as he spoke, as if I was the one who had cheated, not him. I was utterly amazed at how shameless he could be. Are you trying to guilt-trip me? Too bad I have no morals. The onlookers have already started whispering among themselves. First, we've already broken up. Second, these are my bags. And third, if you want to help your precious little junior, what does that have to do with me? Are you going to expect me to raise the child you have with your future wife too? Shinharan was rendered speechless by my retort. He knew he was in the wrong and, seeing the people around had started recording videos on their phones, he realized that dragging this out would benefit no one. He could only retreat sheepishly. This one, and that one. These 3 bags are mine, and I have the right to sell them. My bestie and I had our worldviews completely shattered. What kind of logic is this? You can actually ask for back the things you gave your girlfriend when you're dating. Fine. Do whatever you want. I didn't want to get too involved with him, so I turned to the shop owner and said, those are mine. Please estimate the resale value and transfer the money directly to my card. I guess Shinharan knew his company was just starting out and money was tight, so there was no way he could spare any extra to help Bai Sharo pay off her debts. He actually came up with such a trashy scheme. That dog of a man really wants it all. Yon Pan, are you really breaking up with me? Have you thought this through? You're already 28 years old. Don't you know how old you are? Who would dare to date you if you break up with me now? Out of the love I once had for you, ask your parents for 5 million, pay off Xiaoro's debt first, and then we can talk. Shinharan spoke very seriously, as if breaking up with him would leave me with nothing. Shinharan, are you out of your mind? With Pompon's conditions, you're the one who's lucky to be with her. Okay, besides, my brother is 32 and still unmarried, a 188 centimeters golden bachelor, handsome like Daniel Wu. Pan will live a better life without you. Go be with your toxic. After saying that, my bestie grabbed me and turned around to leave, not even sparing a glance. 6. As we walked out of the mall, we exchanged a glance and giggled. It feels so good. I've been wanting to scold him for so long, my dear Pan. I can't even understand what you saw in him. He's poor, yet arrogant, doesn't let anyone say a word, and clearly has that extreme combination of machismo and deep-seated insecurity. A man can pretend to be nice to you, but he can't fake being tall, handsome, and rich. Got it. Then, my bestie nudged me mysteriously and said, why don't you become my sister-in-law? A good match shouldn't go to outsiders. If my brother doesn't find a partner soon, my parents will go crazy. And they'll start thinking he's into guys. I shot her an annoyed glance. 6 years of devoted effort had led to this outcome. Once bitten by a snake, one is afraid of ropes for a decade. How could I dare to talk about dating at a time like this? My best friend didn't push me, only saying that if I wanted to date, she would immediately have her brother come back. I thought the matter was over, but a few days later, I received a message from Bai Sharo asking to meet. Along with a photo of her holding hands with Shinharan, Sister Panpan, I'm with the senior now, thank you for your blessing, let's find a time to meet, we have something to tell you. I actually didn't want to meet at all, but I was curious to see what tricks this scumbag and his mistress were up to, so I happily agreed to the date. I also sent my bestie the address, if anything happens, press 1 and come save me quickly, okay, sir, I guarantee I'll complete the mission. Bai Sharo is actually quite nice, she chose a cafe near my place. As soon as I walked in, I saw her with red, teary eyes, and a shy expression, leaning on Shinharan's shoulder. He was holding a tissue, tenderly wiping away her tears. When he saw me approaching, he awkwardly pulled his hand back. Spit it out if you have something to say. I glared at their loving display with irritation. Bai Sharo then took out a thick stack of something from her bag and placed it in front of me. Take a look, Sister Panpan, on June 28, 2023, bought a dress for 699 yuan, on July 2, 2023, transferred 2,000 yuan, on July 4, 2023, received a red envelope of 52 yuan, I'm puzzled, what is the purpose of showing me this? These papers contain the transaction records between Shinharan and me, Sister Panpan. Since you've broken up, we've been calculating the expenses from the 6 years you were together. Haran spent 108,653.56 yuan on you unilaterally, how do you plan to repay us? I feel like I'm hearing the biggest joke. What kind of drama is this? My ex-boyfriend, with his current girlfriend, is asking his ex-girlfriend to repay the expenses from their relationship. Shinharan would actually do that. Panpan, please understand, the creditors at Sharo's house are pressing hard. For the sake of the 6 years we were together, please transfer the money to me as soon as possible. I laughed bitterly in anger. What can you do if I just don't give it to you? 7. Sister Panpan, you don't want things to get this ugly, do you? Maybe 100,000 yuan isn't much to you, but it's a significant amount for us. If you truly loved Haran before, you should consider his situation. You know that spending 100,000 yuan over 6 years isn't much, right? I raised an eyebrow at her, and her face turned slightly red, unsure if she found her own words ridiculous. If you refuse to repay the money, then just wait for the court summons. I couldn't help but think. Were these two people's brains forcefully dumbed down, or were they hexed, to say something so idiotic? Just as I was about to retort, a cool male voice came from behind. I'm MS, Yang's attorney. If you have any issues, you can talk to me directly. A sharply dressed man walked in, with sharp eyebrows and bright eyes, looking incredibly handsome and righteous. I was full of confusion. Do we know each other? Handsome. The man sat down beside me without hesitation, pulling out a business card. I saw that it was from a very prestigious law firm within the red circle. Hello, my name is Ku Isan, I am MS, Yang's attorney. If there are any disputes between my client and the two of you, please contact me directly. Seeing that a real lawyer had arrived, Shinharan and Bai Sharo didn't dare to speak carelessly anymore and could only leave awkwardly. Ku Yiting, Ku Isan, could this be my best friend's brother? My phone buzzed. Honey, sorry, something came up, my brother is back today. So I've asked him to pick you up, you must have met him by now, right? Isn't he handsome? I glanced at the tall, broad-shouldered, narrow-waisted hunk next to me and nodded vigorously. He's insanely hot. Ku Isan chuckled, looking at me. So you're the super-duper gorgeous young Panpan my sister always raves about. I took a deep breath. This darn best friend of mine, always exaggerating. I gave an awkward smile. Actually, it's just so beautiful. She's absolutely right. The man's smile deepened at the corners of his mouth. I guess he must have heard a lot about me from my best friend too. Next time you encounter someone like this who's legally illiterate, don't waste your breath. Just call the police. Why are you so slow? His smile, really, it's like Wu Yanzu's, and I can't help but blush. I didn't believe them. I was just about to argue when you arrived. Yes, let's go. I'll take you home. I stood up with him and caught a faint whiff of cedar from his scent. My bestie said her brother is 30 and still doesn't have a girlfriend. Could he really be into guys? When he noticed me staring at him, he leaned in and met my gaze, saying, "What's up, little one?" Yang Panpan, am 28 years old, and I'm being called a little one. It's nothing. 8. On the way back, I secretly sent a message to my bestie. Wow, your brother is so handsome. Right. I was going to introduce him to you. But that jerk Shinharan swooped in. How can he compare to my brother? After expressing my thanks, Kuisin rolled down the car window and showed me his WeChat QR code. How about treating me to a meal next time? I was momentarily stunned, then quickly pulled out my phone to add him as a friend. Back home, I unconsciously opened Kuisin's moments, which were filled with reposts from the law firm's official account. No personal life at all, boring. Hey, guess if your brother is the top or the bottom, I thought, and sent this to my bestie via WeChat. Came the quick reply, didn't you say your brother likes guys? What are you doing? Why is my bestie acting so weird today? Constantly typing question marks. Has her account been hacked? I quickly called her with a voice call, and she picked up immediately. Hello, I swear my brain has never been this empty in my entire life. I even had a split-second thought of throwing my phone into outer space. It's Kuisin's voice. Hi, hee, good evening brother, where's Yitting? My mind is filled with a million crows flying by. What kind of drama is this? I like guys. Am I on top or bottom? No, bro, listen to me. I said with a sad face. Who knew this girl's phone was with him? It wasn't until later that I found out it was because Kuisin's phone had run out of battery. He borrowed his friend's phone to send a document, and just as the screen was about to go off, he saw the sentence that would haunt him for the rest of his life. I quickly hung up the phone, trying to prevent the situation from escalating further, and so, an odd atmosphere developed between Kuisin and me. He didn't ask, I didn't answer. And when he did ask, I was surprised. Over the past few days, I've been receiving calls from shareholders and partners of Shinharan's company, asking why he hasn't been to the office and what should be done about the progress of the project contracts. I turned them all down and sent out a statement, CCing everyone in the company. I have broken up with Shinharan, who has found someone new. I am no longer associated with any position or project in your company. You can ask your Mr. Shin for the new project leader. The moment this statement was sent out, the entire company was in an uproar. What's going on? Am I stuck on 2G again? What's going on with President Shin? Seamless transition. Can someone in the know come forward? I really want to know. Judging by President Yang's tone, did President Shin do something? No way. Would the company go bankrupt without President Yang? I need to start looking for a new job. On the other side, the partners are in complete chaos. Shinharan isn't answering calls or WeChat messages, and he's borrowing money everywhere to help his good schoolmate repay debts. The partners were left in shock upon hearing this news. Shinharan wouldn't expect me to clean up his mess, would he? Dream on. 9. To avoid being harassed by random people, I changed my phone number. Unexpectedly, one day while parking, Shinharan suddenly appeared behind me. I was startled. The man in front of me, with his scruffy chin and bloodshot eyes, was barely recognizable as Shinharan. How could he have fallen apart so quickly in just a month? Pan, I regret it. I truly do. I'm a wretch. I shouldn't have treated you like this. Shinharan knelt in front of me, crying his heart out, snot and tears streaming down his face. I felt nothing but disgust and had no idea what he was trying to accomplish. Through his heartfelt, tearful confession, I finally understood. On the 10th day he didn't show up at the company. The business partners came to the office in a rage. With no leader, everyone was at a loss. Eventually, the other party sued his company, which had to pay a hefty sum and was forced to declare bankruptcy. In just a month, he managed to gather over 20 million for Bai Sharo, but it wasn't enough to outlast their ruthless tactics of compounding interest. After Shinharan threatened to call the police if they didn't stop, he was brutally beaten by a group of thugs. I shook my head. How naive he was to think that those brazen enough to engage in usury would have weak backing. He actually dared to threaten them with calling the police, even if the police were involved. Bai Sharo's father had indeed signed a real IOU, so he still owed a huge amount. I can only say that evil begets evil. Where's your girlfriend? I wondered, watching the inseparable couple, now reduced to just him, when Bai Sharo was mentioned. Shinharan's eyes blazed with boundless hatred. That bitch, seeing my company go bankrupt, she actually went after the loan shark boss. He's already in his 50s. I even felt sorry for that bitch. Then he pleaded with me. Pan, I was bewitched. I shouldn't have given up on you, on our company for her. I beg you, I have nothing now. Please give me another chance. Pan, I truly love you. I didn't want to get entangled with him any further and turned to leave. Shinharan rushed up and hugged me, his eyes wild. Pan, I love you. Let's get married, shall we? We'll get married, and I'll go propose to your family right now. The strength between men and women is inherently unequal. I was afraid Shinharan might do something, so I didn't dare act rashly and could only struggle continuously. Let go of me, Shinharan. Are you crazy? If you don't let go, I'm calling the police. Yes, I'm crazy, Panpan. I can't live without you. Suddenly, a muffled sound came from behind, followed by the sound of something heavy falling. The feeling of being restrained instantly disappeared. 10. I looked up in terror, tears still glistening in my eyes, only to see Kuisan holding a steel pipe. He then strode over and pulled me into a comforting embrace. I looked at Shinharan lying on the ground and pointed at him. He's not going to die, is he? Kuisan chuckled and tapped my head. Killing someone lands you in jail. And 3 generations can't take the civil service exam. I know my limits. I couldn't help but laugh at his nonsensical words, and suddenly I felt a lightness in my body as he picked me up and carried me back to the car. I'll handle Shinharan's matter. Don't worry, what we need to deal with now is our own situation. I stared at the handsome face just a fist's distance away, my heart racing uncontrollably. Deal with? What? Why are you avoiding me? Huh? I pursed my lips, feeling a bit flustered. I'm not avoiding you, it's just, seeing me so nervous I could barely speak. He just chuckled softly and patted my head. You dummy. Shinharan was sentenced to a few years for intentional injury, and the weight on my heart finally lifted. My relationship with Kuisan also progressed rapidly because of this. We chatted every day, talking about everything under the sun. I felt like a child who had just learned to speak, constantly pouring out my thoughts. Before I knew it, Valentine's Day arrived. Kuisan invited me to dinner, and my best friend teased me from the side. Yo, still not interested. This is the first time I've seen my brother ask a girl out. If my parents found out, they'd definitely fly over to see you right away. I blushed and lightly hit her. What are you talking about? We're still just friends for Valentine's Day. Then, my bestie picked out a slit-halter dress for me. Looking at this barely there dress, I gave her a puzzled look. You want to freeze me to death? My bestie gave me a frustrated glare. I've always wondered if my brother likes men or women. Considering he's only ever sweet with you, please help me figure it out. I couldn't resist her sweet talking, and I wanted to know too. My bestie's eyes widened when I put on the dress. Let me tell you, if something doesn't happen between you two tonight, my brother's not a man. I pretended to be angry and ignored her, but my eyes kept glancing at myself in the mirror. Loving others is like nurturing a flower. You must first love yourself before you can love others. Everyone who sees me says I look younger and younger. The truth is, it's just because I have fewer worries now. 11. That night, I arrived at the restaurant Kaisen mentioned, wearing high heels and a slip dress. I spotted him immediately, typing away by the window, his brow furrowed as if deep in thought. I cleared my throat lightly, and in the moment he looked up, I didn't miss the flicker of admiration in his eyes. But tonight, just like before, he didn't say much. Yet he didn't let the atmosphere cool either. After he dropped me off, I felt inexplicably defeated and picked up my phone to message my best friend. Isn't your brother into guys? He didn't react at all to me dressed like this. Stop guessing. He definitely likes men. Me, like men. A low voice suddenly spoke above me. Kuisan had left his coat at the restaurant and asked me to wait by the car. When he returned, he caught a glimpse of the message I had just sent to my best friend. I quickly put away my phone and played dumb. What? He unfolded his coat, wrapped me inside, and pulled me into his embrace, his lips, carrying a faint scent of tobacco, pressing tightly against mine. I struggled to push him away, but he held me tighter, and accidentally feeling his rock-hard abs, I felt my whole body, from my hair to my toes, must have turned red. I don't like men. Like you. After what felt like an eternity, Kuisan finally let go of me, and the sudden confession left me a bit flustered. You look beautiful tonight, he smiled, as if something had just occurred to him, curious to know if I'm any good. I shook my head. No. Before I could even finish speaking, he silenced me again. They kissed so passionately that they almost ran out of breath. He rested his head on my shoulder, gently stroking the nape of my neck. I've been holding back for 6 years, Pan. 6 years. So this guy had a crush on me from the very beginning. There's nothing more thrilling than realizing the person you like also likes you back. The next morning, I sat up, rubbing my sore back, only to find Kuisan already downstairs preparing breakfast for me. Thinking about last night, I blushed. Suddenly, his phone beeped, and I was about to hand it to him, accidentally caught a glimpse of a message from his brother. Brother Sen, did sister-in-law agree to go out with you? I secretly unlocked his phone and saw the message he sent in their group chat while waiting for me at the restaurant last night. The girl I've been secretly in love with for 6 years is spending Valentine's Day with me today. Jealous, aren't you? A warm feeling washed over me, and I found it a bit amusing that the aloof Kulu was like a well-behaved little puppy in private. It was as if he sensed it, and he turned back to smile at me. I rushed over and hugged his waist tightly. Outside, the sunlight was gentle, the breeze was just right, and my beloved was always by my side. Story 2, on the day I broke up with Xiaoyi. I received a diary from my ex-husband. It recorded his silent love for me for 9 years. Every word was affectionate and engraved in my heart. The last page of the diary reads, "When you see this diary, I will be dead." I was briefly married to him for a year, and the time we actually spent together was very limited. At that time, even his appearance was already vague in my memory. These 9 years were the 9 years in which I pursued Xiaoyi with all my heart and eyes, and then became deeply involved in his ambiguous relationship with his widowed sister-in-law and became exhausted, but it turned out that someone had been watching over me in an unknown corner for 9 years with great and passionate love. When I opened my eyes again, I was reborn on the day when my ex-husband first came to propose marriage. 1. In the restaurant, when I saw Xiaoyi, who looked a lot younger, calling Jiang Wenwan's sister-in-law across from me, I was truly sure that I was reborn. Xiaoyi pushed a plate of peeled shrimps over and said softly, "Sister-in-law, please eat more. Your body can't take it if you keep going like this." Jiang Wenwan's eyes were red, and she smiled sadly. When Xiaofeng was here, he peeled shrimp for me in the same way. Xiaoyi's hands on the table were slightly curled up, and sadness and pity filled his eyes. I looked at the two people sitting side by side opposite me, and slowly remembered what time it was. I went back 5 years. At this time, Xiaoyi's brother had just died in a car accident 5 months ago, leaving behind his newlywed wife Jiang Wenwan. Xiaoyi's parents died when he was 12 years old. He was raised by his elder brother, and the two brothers have a deep affection. He was worried that his only sister-in-law would be depressed living alone in an empty house, so he not only took her to his own place to take care of her, but also brought her with him every time he went on a date with me, saying that he wanted to make her feel more cheerful. Xiaoyi and I were college sweethearts, and I was pursuing him. He is a cold and aloof academic genius with a bright and handsome appearance, and he touched my heart at first sight. We have been in love for 4 years. Although I have a spoiled personality since childhood, I am extremely accommodating and tolerant in front of him. Although I understood his sympathy and sense of responsibility for his brother's widow, I felt somewhat uncomfortable with his behavior and expressed a little dissatisfaction to him. He looked at me with disappointment and anger. Sister-in-law is my brother's family, and also my family. I have the responsibility and obligation to take care of her during this special period. Nan, don't learn from those inferior people. A dirty heart will see a dirty world. There is no need to avoid suspicion among family members. But the man who said such powerful words unexpectedly revealed to me 5 years later when he proposed to me that he and his so-called family had a 4-year-old son. Calculating the time, it should be a month from now. The two crossed the line and went to bed. Perhaps I seemed a little indifferent to Jiang Wenwan's sadness at the moment. Xiaoyi frowned and reminded unhappily, Nan, we brought sister-in-law out to play today to make her happy. Don't be so stern. Go and help her prepare some condiments. Don't use too much oil and put more coriander. I raised my eyes and looked at him for a long time. At this time, he still called her sister-in-law, but soon he would change to calling her Wenwan, having a stern face. Really, I smiled faintly. I think my face is normal. I don't know what kind of face can make people happy. As for the small things, aren't they self-service? Self-service means helping yourself. Xiaoyi seemed to be unprepared for my attitude, and his tone was tinged with anger. Nan, don't be ignorant. You will make sister-in-law misunderstand that we don't welcome her. Now, hurry up and apologize to sister-in-law. He looked at me with a sullen face, with blame evident in his eyes. This expression means that he is very angry. In the past, in order to avoid quarrels, I would always surrender immediately and do whatever he said, but at this moment, I just looked at him quietly. Xiaoyi, Jiang Wenwan sighed. It's normal for Munan to have a little temper as a little girl. You have to give in to her. She looked at me again and said gently, he just wanted to make me happy, and he spoke in a hurry. I am half of Xiaoyi's elder, so please don't mind it for my sake. Hey, you don't know how much I envy you. She felt sad again and her voice became choked. A trace of heartache flashed across Xiaoyi's face, and he looked at the woman beside him with forbearance. Sister-in-law, We all hope you can be happier. Jiang Wenwan looked at him with red eyes. Her lips moved as if she wanted to say something but didn't. It's not that hard to make her happy. I suddenly stood up, breaking the atmosphere of the two people holding hands and looking at each other with tears in their eyes. Xiaoyi thought I had given in as usual, and said with pursed lips. Go ahead, get the cantaloupe when you get the side dishes. My sister-in-law loves it. I smiled. What's so exciting about eating some melon? I think she'd be happier if the light bulb, disappeared immediately. After saying that, ignoring their surprised faces, I stood up and left with the crisp sound of my 8-centimeter high heels. Munan, Xiaoyi's angry voice came from behind. I walked out of the restaurant without looking back. 2. The car sped along the road and I couldn't wait to get home, hurry back to see someone, because I just suddenly remembered, today is the day when Yuqing showed up at my house for the first time and proposed marriage to my dad. That yellowed diary recorded word for word that it was already his 4th year of secretly loving me, and I had never seen him before. After parking the car in the yard, I walked into the hallway. From a distance, I saw a man in a black suit sitting on the mahogany armchair at the north gate. His hair was thick and black, and his back was broad and straight. A ray of sunlight slanted in from the porch, shining on his side, creating a hazy halo. I was in a trance for a moment. My father was surprised when he saw me. Nan, why are you back? Didn't you say you would be back late today? The man's back suddenly stiffened. There was no turning around, no speaking, not even the slightest change of posture. But I just felt his sudden stiffness. I was a little tired, so I came back early. I walked slowly around him, and as I moved forward, the man's face gradually revealed itself. Smooth jaw, straight nose, thick eyelashes, and a pair of deep black eyes that suddenly looked up at me. I looked at him quietly. The person in front of me slowly overlapped with the blurry face in my memory. Looking back in time and from an omniscient perspective, I re-examined my ex-husband, with whom I was married for a short year. Only then did I realize that he was such a handsome man, but in my heart, he was just a shadow in name only. Looking back, there wasn't much interaction between him and me. We only met a few times, emotionless conversation, living together in silence. Even when signing the divorce papers, I wrote his name wrong. Just like in his previous life, he appeared suddenly, when my father was at his wits' end due to failed investments and a broken capital chain. Yuqing, the youngest successor of Yu Group, took the initiative to propose cooperation through marriage. My dad didn't believe it at first. After all, my company is not on the same level as the huge Yu Group. In the past 2 years, there has been internal strife among the heirs of the Yu Group, and the news that the illegitimate son Yuqing used thundering means to ascend to the throne has been widely circulated. The reason given by Yuqing was to enter the traditional industry in which my father's company was located through marriage and cooperation. The marriage only takes 1 year, and the two can just be nominal husband and wife. Not long ago, my father mentioned it to me timidly, but I rejected it angrily. He has spoiled me since I was a child and is unwilling to force me. In my previous life, I accidentally learned about the difficulties my father was facing. It happened that during that time, Xiaoyi and I were having a fight over Jiang Wenwan, and I agreed to the marriage on impulse. Today is the first time Yuqing comes to visit, and my dad is about to refuse him, and originally, I didn't show up. Dad, this gentleman looks so familiar. I looked at the motionless man in front of me and said with a smile. Yuqing's long eyelashes trembled slightly. Ah, Nan, this is Mr. Yu, and this is our daughter Munan. My dad rubbed his hands and quickly introduced them. He slowly stood up, held out his hand to me, and said in a calm voice, Ms. Mu, nice to meet you. Very calm and composed. It is the image of a superior who exudes a subtle sense of oppression, but in that diary, he used a lot of space to record his first formal acquaintance with me. From my clothes to my hairstyle, every word I said, every expression, was delicately presented in words. He said that at that moment his heart was surging like the sea and almost overflowing. I glanced at his legs, under the crisp trousers. There is a prosthetic left leg below the knee. It's no secret, this was the price he paid in the brutal battle for power, but it is also the biggest source of his inferiority complex in front of me. He noticed my gaze. His fingers trembled slightly and he almost couldn't bear it and had to retract them. I reached out and grasped him, gently yet with some strength. Mr. Yu, nice to meet you. His dark eyes looked at me quietly, then quickly dropped down and whispered, Ms. Mu, I'm glad to meet you too. Dad cleared his throat and said with difficulty, Mr. Yu, I'm really sorry, the matter you mentioned, my daughter. Dad, I interrupted him, is the person you mentioned to me as your partner Mr. You? Dad pulled the corner of his mouth and said dryly, ah, yes, then I do. The two men were silent for a moment. Dad was stunned and blinked his round eyes. Nan, you are not, how? Because I feel that I have a good rapport with Mr. You. The man who was standing silently suddenly raised his calm eyes and looked at me. At that moment, I seemed to see the sea in someone's eyes, deep blue, silent, and unfathomable. Okay, it's settled then. He lowered his eyes and spoke calmly. After Yuqing left, I immediately took the elevator to the bedroom on the 3rd floor, slightly opened the curtains, and looked towards the corner of the path not far away. The black Cullinan was parked on the side of the road under the shade of lush trees. The tall figure stood quietly by the side, his body straight but his head slightly lowered, as if he was thinking about something intently. He said that every time he left here, he would stay there for half an hour. Looking at this man who didn't leave much of a mark in my life, my heart was filled with emotions, thinking back to that diary. How it recorded a boy's secret and grand crush over 9 years as he slowly grew into a man. 3. He said that the first time he met me was on his 19th birthday. He was standing on the edge of a cliff, ready to jump. Amid the lush green hills on the mountain road below, a brilliant red suddenly appeared. A girl in a red dress happily chases a white puppy. The skirts fluttered and the laughter was clear, echoing through the mountains. He suddenly felt, I can't let my dirty self dirty such a beautiful picture. The second time they met was when he, as Yu Feng's illegitimate son, attended the 30th anniversary banquet of Yu Group. At that time, he had not yet learned to face the malicious intentions calmly. The dignified and elegant Mrs. Yu smiled gently and said, your prostitute mother. His half-brothers politely discussed with him, I heard that you let someone in through the back door when you were being bullied. As he endured the humiliating denials over and over again, he gradually gritted his teeth and his eyes turned red. They looked at him with smiles on their faces, waiting for him to collapse, lose his composure, and make a fool of himself. Just as the collapse was about to break out, a pleasant girl's voice, as if penetrating the chaotic fog, rang beside his roaring ears. Hello, I think you look very handsome from the side. A lot like Sesshomaru. Can I take a picture of you? He turned around blankly and saw a bright smiling face. It's the girl in red in the mountains. He was extremely shocked, because he always thought that the scene he saw that day was an illusion caused by extreme emotions. The girl's face is pretty and sweet, full of vigor and vitality. Her eyes are as bright as stars, revealing a beauty and purity. She was looking at him with her head tilted and smiling. That was the first time someone praised him without any malice. It was also the first time that he truly felt the beauty of the opposite sex, thrilling and unprepared. From that day on, it seemed as if a ray of sunshine that shouldn't belong to him accidentally leaked into his barren and hopeless life. He realized that there was certainly something vivid and fascinating about the world. He found himself being greedy. I have no recollection of the 2 encounters he recorded in his diary. I only remember that when I was 18. My father was at the peak of his career and invested in a resort. I often went there during the summer vacation. I did have a white poodle. I was obsessed with the cool Lord Sesshomaru. Later, he entered the university where I was studying. As for the process, he simply said, it cost some price. At that time, I was chasing Xiaoyi all day long. In an interschool debate competition, I lost to Xiaoyi, who was the closing debater on the other side. I was immediately fascinated by the calm and rational charm he exuded. At that time, I was a confident and willful person. If you like someone, say it out loud. If you like someone, go after them. My friends laughed at me for being a girl chasing a boy, but I raised my head and said confidently, I just like what I don't like. I don't want to be with someone who likes me. This sentence was once widely spread. It was so popular that Yuqing heard about it. He then wrote a sentence in his diary. I am in the mountains and sea, and you are in the clouds and mist. He never really showed up for me, but it seems that his world is all about me. Knowing that I bought new clothes, got a new hairstyle, and changed my phone case. I know that I won 2nd place in the speech contest, but failed in math. He knows that I love to eat Lao Wang's bean skewers in Southwest Village and drink freshly squeezed orange juice. He said that he was timid, cowardly, and had low self-esteem. Like a mouse in a dark corner, loathing himself while sinking into depravity. Even if we met face to face, he didn't dare to really look up at me. 4. It's not like he didn't try to walk up to me. In the 2nd year after Yuqing was adopted into the Yu family, Yu Feng unexpectedly discovered that his son, whom he did not care much about, possessed rare business talent and decisiveness and ruthlessness. So he began to try to train him. As the situation gradually improved, I began to have a glimmer of hope. That day, he bought a bouquet of bright red roses, got a new haircut, and prepared to meet me with great nervousness. When going out, I met a group of young girls. They pushed the one in the middle and confessed their love to him with blushing faces. His half-brother happened to be driving by. She rolled down the car window and greeted him with a smile, glanced at the group of girls, and said slowly, "Are you in a relationship? You can't hide from others that your mother died of AIDS." The group of young girls looked at him with horror, pity, and embarrassment. The girl who confessed her love made an excuse and ran away without looking back. At that moment, he suddenly realized something. He will never be able to stand in front of me openly again. That day, he took action for the first time and broke his brother's nose. As punishment, he was put in solitary confinement for a month. Later, he only secretly put down an umbrella when I was blocked by the rain in the teaching building, then looked at me smiling and laughed with me. When I went to the laboratory building to wait for Xiaoyi at night, and sat under a tree with my face propped up and in a daze, he quietly accompanied me while I waited. On my birthday, an unknown fireworks display was silently set off outside my dormitory window. In his diary, he wrote down countless things that I had never known in a loving and confessional way. I feel emotional and confused. The girl he described seemed like me and yet not me. That girl was so beautiful and happy, like the sun hanging high in the sky, out of reach. What virtue and ability have I gained? What really made me overlap myself with her were two things. During my sophomore year, when I was waiting for Xiaoyi downstairs of the laboratory building at night, I ran into a few migrant workers who were repairing the playground on campus at the time. They were drunk and touched me with the intention of molesting me. I shouted for help, but the laboratory building was at the end of the playground and there was almost no one there. Just when I was terrified and desperate, a tall boy in a black hoodie jumped out from somewhere, and without saying a word, he started punching me hard. Although those people ran away in the end, the boy was also injured and a lot of his blood was splattered on the ground. I cried and wanted to take him to the hospital, but he just wiped the blood off his face silently, looked at me quietly, put on his hat, turned around and left. Xiaoyi and I once posted on the campus website to look for this brave boy, but we never found him. It turned out to be Yuqing. Another incident caused quite a stir in my heart. The winter of my graduation year, there was a once-in-a-century snowstorm. The snow on the roads was knee-deep and city traffic came to a standstill. I had a high fever of 40 degrees and was unconscious. I was lying in the school hospital and needed to be transferred to another hospital urgently. When everyone was at a loss, I felt someone carrying me up with great force. The school was 5 kilometers away from the nearest large hospital. I vaguely knew that the man was carrying me and walking in the snow, one step deep and one step shallow. The sound of wind and panting lasted for a long time. When I woke up, I saw Xiaoyi's face. I asked weakly, "Did you carry me here?" He was excited and scared, and he hugged me gently, just kept saying, "I'm glad you're okay, I'm glad you're okay." Later, the nurse said that my condition was very serious that day, and if I hadn't been sent to emergency treatment in time, my life would be in danger. "Your boyfriend is so good to you. It's so snowy, you have to lift it up step by step to move. He even carried you on his back. I'm afraid he must have lost half his life walking this way." I was deeply touched. Probably from that time on, I began to think of Xiaoyi not only as my boyfriend, but also as the person I wanted to spend my life with. I think, in that situation, he didn't give up on me. In the future, I will never give up on him easily. It turned out to be the person who carried me on his back in the wind and snow, and did not stop for a single moment on the deserted street. Not Xiaoyi, it's Yuqing. It is unimaginable that the person who wrote these gentle and delicate words for several years was, at the same time, experiencing a brutal and treacherous battle for succession. His father, who valued profit over family affection, had an inexplicable heart attack and died naked on the Goldfinch. Another brother who was also his illegitimate child was reported for embezzling public funds and was thrown into prison. He had his leg broken in a man-made car accident. All of these were only briefly mentioned in the diary. Finally, he only mentioned briefly, "I'm finally in this position. I think I can touch the moonlight." So he indulged the little beast that had been lurking in his heart for many years. She stood before me through marriage. I was taking a taxi to the airport when I received this diary. At that time, I was still devastated by Xiaoyi's betrayal, and in order to avoid his entanglement, I decided to flee to another city. as soon as I left the house. Shansong sent me a beautifully packaged box. I opened this diary in a taxi. The car was driving on the overpass and crashed into the concrete bridge pier in order to avoid a bus whose brakes failed. Before I died, I saw the blood-stained diary, which was flipped to the last page by the wind. There is a line of words on it. When you see this diary, I will be dead. 5. I turned off my phone and lay at home for 2 days. Looking back on my past and present life, I cried and laughed. On the third day, I got out of bed, opening his phone. Xiaoyi only sent a WeChat message, simple and cold. Do you want to break up? I replied, okay, let's break up. After saying that, he threw away his phone and let out a long breath. Looking at myself in the mirror, I feel like I have become 5 years younger. I feel like I have been transformed from the inside out. Looking at the bright sunshine outside the window, I decided to go find Yuqing. He spent most of his time in his top-floor office in the U's building. Separated by life and death, love and separation, I had an urge that was about to burst out of my chest. I want to go and make love to this lonely and affectionate man. I didn't finish reading the last part of the diary, so I don't know what happened to him later or why he died. However, God will not let me be reborn for no reason. This time, I won't die. Yuqing won't do that either. 6. I felt a little unfamiliar when I stood under the U's building, although I was nominally the chairman's wife. I had never been here. When the receptionist learned that I was looking for Yuqing, she showed a hint of mockery. The chairman never sees outsiders. Madam, please go back. Frowning, he asked his father for Yuqing's phone number. As soon as it rang, he heard a steady voice from inside. Hello, Miss Mu. I'm not at all surprised how he knew my cell phone number. Mr. Yu, I'm in the lobby downstairs of your company now, and I want to come and see you. There was sudden silence on the phone for 2 seconds. Hold on. A minute later, a tall figure in a black shirt strode out from the elevator. When Yuqing walked towards me, his expression was grim and he just glanced at me from a distance before looking down. Mr. Yu, I just happened to pass by and would like to visit your company. Is it convenient for you now? I said with a bright smile. He stared at me blankly and whispered, convenient. After a pause, he added, I can show you around. We got on the special elevator amid the shocked gaze of the front desk staff. In the closed space, I could feel the man's suppressed breath and the slightly rising and falling chest. Unconsciously, I coughed lightly. The elevator door opened and a beautiful and intellectual woman immediately came up to us. They said you left suddenly after a meeting, and I was worried. When she saw me behind her, she paused for 2 seconds and asked, Chairman, who is this guest? Yuqing glanced at me and seemed a little hesitant about how to introduce me. Finally, he just said, Assistant Lon, pour a glass of orange juice and bring it to my office. Assistant Lon looked at me with suspicion and vigilance. As we passed each other, I smiled at her in a friendly manner. Hello, my last name is Mu, and I'm his fiancé. Assistant Lan's pupils widened slightly, and then he chuckled. This lady is such a joker. She was obviously very confident that she knew Yuqing well enough. Yuqing suddenly stopped and turned around. She's not kidding. Miss Mu is my fiancé, Assistant Lon. From now on her words are my words. Do you understand? Assistant Lon showed an incredible expression, bit her lower lip, and whispered, I understand. Chairman, Yuqing's office is designed in a famous designer style. Simple yet high-end. The first thing he did when he came in was to turn off the air conditioner. We sat down opposite each other on the sofa. He lowered his head slightly, opened his long legs slightly, but stopped talking. If I hadn't read that diary, I would have thought he was cold and distant. Given my personality, I would never take the initiative to show my friendship to him, but now, I looked at this man and spoke softly. I came here today because I thought that since we are going to get married, we should get to know each other first. Mr. Yu, what do you think? Yeah, he nodded. Can I call you Yuqing? Can. Then you can call me Munan or Nan Nan. My family all call me Nan Nan. Good. He really spoke very little, seemed not good at speaking, and even a little dull. It's a little hard for me to imagine how he got to this position. The atmosphere suddenly became quiet. He pursed his lips and crossed his 10 slender white fingers. The knuckles turned slightly white due to the force. My heart softened and I asked again, Yuqing, have you eaten? 7. He was stunned for a moment. No, I don't really eat lunch. In recent years, in order to maintain strong energy and a clear mind, he basically does not eat at noon, and as a result, he often suffers from stomach pain. I tilted my head and said in a nice voice, I haven't eaten yet, how about ordering some takeout? We can eat together. He died in his prime, either from an accident or illness, Given that he knew of his death in advance, it was most likely due to physical reasons. He blinked quietly. Good. I excitedly took out my phone to place an order. I didn't know what he liked to eat, so I ordered a few dishes from this restaurant and a few dishes from that restaurant. After a long time, I finally placed the order. When I looked up, I saw him sitting quietly beside me, not even looking at his phone. Even though he had an expressionless, domineering face, he made me feel inexplicably a little obedient. Assistant Lon knocked on the door and came in, placing 2 glasses of freshly squeezed orange juice on the table. Thank you, I nodded. She glanced at me, said nothing, and walked out. Yuching suddenly said, Assistant Lon. She turned around and looked at Yuching with her misty eyes, seeming to feel aggrieved and stubborn. How long have you been my assistant? She pursed her lips and raised her head. From the first day you joined the company to the end of this month, it has been exactly 3 years. Starting tomorrow, you will be working in the administration department, he said in a tone that left no room for negotiation. Assistant Lon was stunned and asked in a lost voice, why? Yuching frowned slightly, but still answered, I'm getting married, and all the female assistants will be replaced. Assistant Lan's face turned pale. He stood there blankly for a long time, and finally uttered a few words with difficulty. I understand. I looked at her back as she walked out the door. Is your assistant okay? Yuching handed me the orange juice and said calmly, as long as the money is enough, nothing will happen. His actions were considerate, but his words and expression were cold and indifferent. There is a sense of tearing contrast. I actually thought he was well behaved. I shook my head. After taking a sip of orange juice, his eyes lit up. What kind of orange is this? It's so fragrant and sweet. He curled the corners of his lip imperceptibly. I specially rented a hill in southern Jiangxi and asked someone to grow this variety. The annual output is not much. Do you like it? I love it, I nodded. Even if it's just to drink your orange juice, I have to come here often. Okay, come anytime. His eyes lit up when he said this. When the 2 secretaries brought in several colorful takeout bags, their faces were full of disbelief. When they heard Yuching instruct them to place the takeout on the valuable mahogany desk, their pupils trembled. Anyway, that day, Yuching and I devoured a pile of cheap takeout boxes in his office, which was a work of art. I enjoyed the meal very much. In the last 2 years of my previous life, I was deeply trapped in the emotional quagmire of Shaoi and was exhausted, losing a lot of fun and enthusiasm in life, and now, I have a chance to restart my life. I know with absolute certainty that this man in front of me can be completely trusted and relied upon. This feeling of happiness and being protected in life even made my eyes warm. Yuching sat opposite me, eating slowly but attentively. It seemed that what he was tasting was not the food, but this brief moment. He didn't even bat an eye at the oil from the takeout box slowly seeping into the texture of the mahogany. I smiled and said to Yuching, I'll come to eat every day during this period. Okay. He raised his eyes and looked at me. Good. 8. Over the next month, I came to see Yuching every few days, whether I greeted him in advance or not, he was always there. There is an exquisite dining table for 2 in front of the floor-to-ceiling window in the office. He and I sat opposite each other, sometimes talking while eating. Gradually, we became familiar with each other and he talked more. I thought he was dull and not good at speaking, but in fact, it is just the opposite. His answers to my questions were always to the point and from a unique perspective. When someone called for instructions, he gave the order decisively, resolutely, and efficiently. When listening to others talking, he would slightly purse his lips into a straight line, and his long eyelashes would blink from time to time, looking calm and focused. I am a face control and I like staring at his face more and more. I always thought I was doing it secretly, until one time, I was staring at him without blinking as he was talking on the phone. Although the content was very serious, the corners of his lips were slightly raised. Then I suddenly realized that he knew I was looking at him. I blushed. When I raised my head, I met a pair of bright and fiery eyes again. Yuching did not avoid me when handling the work. After a month of getting along with him, I came to the conclusion that his death was not man-made. Everyone in the company was convinced and respectful to him. His former opponents were completely subdued by him. Mrs. Yu and several of his half-brothers were driven away to an unknown small country in northern Europe. There is no darkness lurking, no vengeance returned. He is the absolute king of his world, excluding these external factors. The only remaining reasons are physical, so, I took him to the hospital on the pretext of a premarital physical examination and prepared to give him a full-body checkup. While waiting for Yuching outside the B ultrasound room, I unexpectedly ran into Xiaoyi. I saw him first. He sat alone in the corner, his brows slightly furrowed and his eyes somewhat empty. I cursed my bad luck and turned to leave. He raised his head and looked me straight in the eye. Munan. He stood up suddenly, a trace of panic flashing across his face. What are you doing here? The hospital is owned by your family. I can't come, I said coldly. Xiaoyi was silent for 2 seconds, and quickly returned to his usual cold and aloof appearance. Have you had enough trouble this month? I frowned. Who is making trouble? He looked at me unhappily. You blocked me. And when I went to your house you always said you weren't there. Nan. There has to be a limit to your temper. If you keep going on like this, maybe we're really done for. I laughed out loud. Xiaoyi, didn't we end a long time ago? Do you want me to remind you that we broke up a month ago? He stared at me for a while, and for some reason, his voice softened. Nan, I've thought about it. I was wrong last time and didn't consider your feelings. I went to your house to apologize. When Juan is checking inside, Nan, I'm very tired now. His expression at this moment was somewhat complicated, tired, fragile, and seemed a little confused. My heart moved. Xiaoyi now calls her Wenwan. Could it be that they have already? What's wrong with Jiang Wenwan? I asked with a frown. His eyes flickered slightly, and his expression suddenly became a little unnatural. I have a cold. Nan. Behind me, Yuqing called my name and walked towards me with a gloomy look in his eyes. I hurriedly asked him, what was the result? His expression relaxed. It's okay. Everything is normal. Who is he? Xiaoyi looked at Yuqing with scrutiny. Yuqing glanced at him expressionlessly and said calmly, me, her fiancé. Impossible. Xiaoyi frowned and quickly figured it out. Nan, you are angry with me and Wenwan, so you deliberately found a man to provoke me, right? I was so angry that I laughed. I simply reached out and held Yuqing's hand, and said loudly, he is my fiancé and we will be married soon. His words are my words. Do you understand, Xiaoyi? Xiaoyi looked at my hand gloomily, with suppressed anger in his voice. So, you betrayed me. His voice suddenly rose, and the people around him turned to look at him. I sneered. Xiaoyi, let me remind you again, we broke up a month ago. Even if I kiss someone else in front of you now, you have no right to blame me. As for betrayal, who betrayed whom? Xiaoyi, I stared at him, my eyes ironic and cold. His eyes tightened when he saw me looking at him, as if someone had stepped on his tail. And he looked a little guilty and confused. I sneered in understanding. Sure enough, he had already gone to bed. A feeling of annoyance suddenly arose in my heart, and I didn't want to say another word to him. She looked up at the man beside her. Yuqing, let's go. Yuqing seemed to suddenly wake up from his daze and said softly, okay, let's go. I held Yuqing's hand and walked to the elevator. His palms are big and warm, giving people a feeling of being gently embraced. Having witnessed the beginning of Xiaoyi and Wenwan's affair, I strongly desired to be affirmed, protected and pampered at this moment. I didn't want to let go. Yuqing didn't let go either. He seems to have a kind of power. Standing next to him, people spontaneously develop a sense of dependence, as if everything in the world can be solved and is under control. My heart gradually felt at ease and peaceful. While waiting for the elevator, I heard the gossiping voices of 2 cleaners coming from the corner. The man who was talking loudly in the ultrasound room just now. Do you know what disease the woman he brought in last night had? I know, corpus luteum rupture. Tell me, why are these young couple doing that thing so intensely? They are not married, mistress. That woman looks older than the man. That's right. I heard that man even called her sister-in-law. Tisk. The elevator door opened and we walked in. Yuqing was silent for a moment, and tightened his palms. Are you, okay, fine. He knew everything about Xiaoyi and I's past. Obviously, Xiaoyi betrayed me, in an extremely explosive and disgusting way. I sighed softly. It's still a bit disgusting. I wish there was a place where I could purify my body and mind. Yuqing looked down at me and suddenly said, there is such a place. 9. He drove me to an elegant villa in the suburbs. The tree-lined path shaded by lush greenery and the walls covered with green vines are peaceful and romantic. I fell in love with it at first sight. As I walked through the garden, through the foyer, and opened the glass door to the back garden, I exclaimed, as far as the eye can see, there is a large field of bright red roses, spreading along the undulating hillside, as beautiful as a scene in a dream. I ran over with joy and laughter. He stood in the corridor and looked at me with a smile on his face. Yuqing told me that he planted this rose field himself. When he is bored, broken down, or lonely, he will come here alone, weed, put up curtains, make a wooden chair. This is his paradise. Why grow red roses? because it looks like a girl's red skirt. It caught my eye the moment I saw it. My heart warmed and I almost wanted to throw myself into his arms. When visiting the villa, I found many small designs arranged for the hostess. A closet with pale blue curtains, a beautiful dressing table, and a window display filled with all kinds of designer bags. I opened my eyes wide and looked at the bags carefully one by one. Each of these packages is worth the price of a house. If you like, we can live here after we get married. Yuching stood aside and said softly, in my previous life, I had never been here. When discussing the marriage, he seemed to have mentioned that he had prepared a villa in the suburbs, but I politely declined, saying that I preferred living in the city. Our new house is a large flat in the city center. Even though I went there very few times, I went there only a few times. At this moment, I looked at the slightly nervous man in front of me and smiled brightly. Okay, I like it very much. We will live here after we get married. His eyes suddenly lit up and the corners of his eyes curved. I stared at him in amazement. Yuching, you look so beautiful when you smile. Can you smile more often in the future? After saying this, the atmosphere seemed to suddenly change. The cloakroom was relatively narrow, and a ray of setting sun shone on us through the window. We stood so close that we could even feel each other's hot breath. His Adam's apple rolled. I lowered my head, my face feeling a little hot. Just as I was about to say a few words to get the matter over with, I heard his voice coming from above my head. Good, I laughed. He always says yes. It's like not being able to say the word no. We stayed in the villa for 3 days. It has everything, a complete set of la mer, various skirts, shoes, pajamas and accessories. Even the milk in the refrigerator is the freshest. In the morning, he would pick dewy roses and knock on my door. My hair was disheveled and my eyes were sleepy, but all I saw was a smiling face. I was brushing my teeth in the bathroom when I suddenly grinned. He was indeed obedient. After just 3 days of getting along, I got to know a whole new Yuching. He is good at cooking, a piece of steak, sizzling, the aroma overflows, arousing my appetite. He can make his own milk tea. He and I sat opposite each other on the terrace, with rose fields stretching all over the hills beside us and a small stove with a low fire in front of us. He fried the tea leaves with rock sugar, calmly and skillfully. He can catch fish in the river with his bare hands, with his sleeves rolled up to reveal his strong arm muscles. He stood bent over in the river. Suddenly, he held a lively fish in his hands. I clapped my hands and jumped for joy on the shore. He was looking at me and smiling in the rippling water. At dusk, he built a small fire rack with branches by the river, roasted fish and whispered about his childhood. My mother fell in love with the wrong person when she was young, and lost both her money and her life. Later, she entered the nightlife scene. She met Yufeng in the nightlife scene and they had no emotional foundation. She gave birth to me only because she needed someone to support her in her old age. I grew up under her curses and the cold stares of others. They said I was dirty and unworthy of living in this world. After I went to school, I began to suffer all kinds of bullying, but I still survived. She later contracted AIDS, and my life became more difficult. That day, I finally exploded and had a huge argument with her, asking her why she had given birth to me and why she had fallen into depravity. When I returned home that night, no one was home. The neighbors said that my mother got drunk in the middle of the day and somehow fell from the upstairs. She died on the spot and had been taken away. I pissed her off to death. I later found her notebook, which contained a graduation photo of my mother wearing a bachelor's cap and smiling brightly. There was also a paternity test report, the date of which was shortly after I was born. I later found out that my biological father was Yufeng. You now know that my past is filthy, dark, and ugly. Munan, I'll give you one chance, just this once. If you can't accept it and regret it, tell me now. His voice was very low in the twilight night, from beginning to end. He just stared at the dancing flames and didn't look up at me. After saying this, he remained motionless, as if waiting for some kind of judgment to come. I slowly moved my body closer to him. His eyelashes were trembling slightly, like butterfly wings, reflecting the firelight, brilliant and charming. Yuching, it's a little cold at night. Can you hug your fiancé? The fish in his hand fell into the fire. He opened his arms stiffly and hugged me carefully. It was unique to him, with a surging aura like a mountain gale that enveloped him. His strong and broad chest could no longer stop shaking. The warm liquid dripped onto my face, one drop after another. I waited quietly for him to vent his emotions. No one can understand this man better than me. He walked alone in the darkness, willing to die for that little bit of light. I understand his overwhelming emotions, the inability to reach, the fear of touching, the boundless loneliness. I am extremely fortunate that I am the woman who is loved passionately by him. In my previous life, Xiaoyi and I were on and off for 9 years. There were countless cold wars and quarrels between him and Jiang Wenwan because their boundaries were unclear. I went from being a girl who dared to love and hate, and was generous and free-spirited, to a loser who was hesitant and indecisive. In fact, at that time, I had long been unable to tell whether I could not leave him because of love, or whether I was obsessed with seeking a result. Those who don't have the courage to let go will eventually suffer the backlash. At the proposal scene, an unexpected scene suddenly appeared on the big screen that was playing the heartwarming clips of our 9 years. Xiaoyi and Jiang Wenwan, with a child who looked 80% similar to him, were in the park, at the beach, in the amusement park, warm and beautiful. When everyone was stunned, the door opened and the child rushed in and hugged Xiaoyi, crying sadly, "Dad, don't you want me and Mom anymore?" Behind him was Jiang Wenwan, who was crying silently. At that moment, Xiaoyi's face turned pale. The three of them huddled together, and I stood aside, like a vicious female supporting role breaking up a happy family. Now, after just 1 month of being with Yuqing, I can feel very clearly that the bright and cheerful self I used to be is back. It's not just physical rebirth. My heart was also reborn. The setting sun sinks into the orange sea, and I fell in love with sincerity. So, Yuqing, I came back to love you. 10. The wedding date was quickly set. I made up for the lack of participation in anything last time. Yuqing and I went together to check out the venue, try on dresses, and choose souvenirs. The staff member whispered to me, "Ms. Mu, your husband loves you so much. Whenever you speak, he keeps looking at you, and his eyes never leave you." I looked at Yuqing, who was trying on a suit, and said with a smile, "Yes. He loves me very much." Yuqing seemed to sense my gaze, subconsciously turned around and smiled at me. The white suit makes his smiling eyes look bright and shining like stars. I was dazzled. That night, we had dinner at a romantic French restaurant. The pianist stopped playing and asked all the couples in the audience with a bright red rose, "Who is willing to prove love?" All the couples raised their hands, including me. Yuqing was lowering his head and carefully helping me serve the soup. The pianist placed a rose in front of me and we were invited to the stage. I held the rose in my mouth and looked up at him. His smile was gentle and he cooperated with all my whims. Cannon sounded. I took the rose and stood on tiptoe to kiss his lips. His eyes suddenly widened. I moved away immediately, still a little shy. The pianist announced that our table would get a free meal. We left the stage amid applause, and Yuqing was a little dazed. When he drove me home after dinner, he still seemed unwell. He looked straight ahead, pursed his lips, and spoke absent-mindedly. When we arrived at my neighborhood, we got out of the car and walked inside into the cool breeze. He tilted his head to look at me from time to time, as if he wanted to say something but stopped himself. I wondered, "What's wrong?" He rubbed his eyebrows, seeming to be troubled. "That was my first kiss." I was stunned. So. The man stopped and turned around. "That doesn't count." As soon as he finished speaking, he held my face in his hands and kissed me. "Be cautious at first and only try a little." I felt like I was leaning against a hot stove and could hear his chest beating like a drum. Panting lightly, she unconsciously raised her hand and placed it on his waist. He paused, as if getting some kind of tacit consent. And suddenly the kiss became fierce, going deeper and deeper, with a fiery light flashing in his eyes. "Why don't you come in?" Dad opened the door and poked his head out. But before he could finish his words, bang, the door was slammed shut with lightning speed. That night, the sky was bright with stars and the summer cicadas were chirping. I almost fainted from Yuqing's kiss. 11. From that day on, Yuqing seemed to have turned on a button and became addicted to kissing. In the top-floor office, he would suddenly pick her up by the waist, press her against the desk and kiss her. Sitting on the sofa choosing wedding plans, he tilted his head and stared at my lips with an inexplicably obscure look in his eyes. And somehow we kissed. We were driving on the road and talking peacefully when he suddenly pulled over to the side of the road. I asked him what happened but he didn't answer. He slowly unbuckled his seatbelt and leaned over to kiss me. I couldn't help but wonder. Is this still the man who avoided my eyes when he looked at me? He is simply self-taught. In my previous life, he and I didn't live together after we got married. They only attend some important banquets together as a couple. I held his arm and he had a blank expression on his face. I talked to him and he responded calmly. In my impression, he is a boring and extremely indifferent person. On the day of my divorce, I breathed a sigh of relief, and he wrote 3 words in his diary, enough, these days. I slowly got to know the real Yuching. He has an extremely high IQ, meticulous thinking and a unique perspective. He actually has a wide range of interests and is good at both active and quiet activities. I am interested in astronomy, history, rock climbing and add one more, obsessed with me. However, the trauma of his childhood and the battle with Yu family still had a profound impact on him. At certain moments, he felt extremely insecure and vulnerable. He hugged me tightly without saying a word, and I knew he was scared, afraid that fate is unpredictable, afraid that I will leave, afraid that everything will disappear. Sometimes, I am troubled by the fact that he died in his previous life, but I comforted myself. I have made so many different choices since my rebirth that the butterfly effect is bound to have an impact. The outcome may have already changed fundamentally. 12. That night, Yuching lingered in front of my house for a long time. After he left reluctantly, Xiaoyi suddenly appeared. He had lost a lot of weight and looked at me heartbroken. I was speechless. At this moment, I am too lazy to even say a word of blame or contempt to this man who has blocked 9 years of my youth. Munan, you are so cruel. After 4 years of relationship, you let it go just like that. You're with another man so soon. You don't respect me, and you don't respect yourself. Am I really that unforgivable? I just defended Wenwan in front of you. But you knew I was just trying to make her happy. I still couldn't help but laughed out loud. She turned her head to look at him and said slowly, Xiaoyi, does what you mean by making her happy include going to bed with her? Xiaoyi's pupils shrank suddenly, and anger surged on his face. Munan, you're going too far. How can you say such a thing? But you can do it. I didn't want to waste any more time, so I interrupted him impatiently. That day when I met you in the hospital. Was that the first time you had sex? His face turned pale and his lips trembled slightly. The first time was so intense that it caused your beloved sister-in-law's corpus luteum to rupture. Last week, you went to the hospital to confirm that she was pregnant, right? What was the result of your discussion? Keep the child, give Jiang Wenwan a mistress. Is she willing to do that? You betrayed our 4-year relationship so disgustingly. It's only been half a year since your brother passed away. And you're having an affair with your sister-in-law. Xiaoyi, you keep saying you're righteous and moral, but you've done so many dirty and filthy things behind my back. How dare you show up in front of me? Xiaoyi's face turned paler as I questioned him. The cicadas suddenly started to roar and scream, as if expressing their strong dissatisfaction with the dirty things in this world. Stop it, please stop it. He slowly squatted down, covered his head with his hands, and his shoulders kept shaking. I stood on the steps and glared at him coldly. I got some of this information from Yuching. He casually placed a private detective investigation report on his desk. I know he did it on purpose. He didn't want me to look back. After a long time, Xiaoyi raised his head, his eyes red, and said in a low voice, I missed you so much, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I was drunk that night and mistook her for you. I blamed you for being so heartless and just wanted to punish you in that way. So, I was so crazy, I didn't even recognize myself. Later, I realized what an irreversible thing I had done. I didn't expect that Wenwan would get pregnant under such circumstances. The doctor said that if she had an abortion, she might never be able to have children again. She begged me with tears, saying that she wanted to leave a child for my brother. He closed his eyes in pain. I had no choice but to agree to her. I was in a lot of pain during this period and even wanted to kill myself, but I don't love her. Nan, I love you. Can you? He suddenly stopped and stared at me with his scarlet eyes. You know you can't say it, right? I sneered. Xiaoyi, there is no possibility for you and me. Let's go. Don't show up here again and dirty my way home. Xiaoyi's eyes were dim and he murmured, but I really love you. I was wrong. I will go and ask Wenwan to abort the baby. In the dim night, Jiang Wenwan walked out from the darkness with red eyes. She slowly helped Xiaoyi up from the ground and looked at me with grievance and resentment. Munan, you don't have to feel that we are sorry for you. No matter what Xiaoyi and I did, you had already broken up, right? Besides, aren't you also seeing someone new? Don't be so hypocritical. I admit that I didn't control my emotions during this period, but Xiaoyi is not wrong. He is a responsible and good man. He just doesn't want me to be unable to be a mother for the rest of my life. But you don't know how to cherish him. In your eyes, is he so unimportant to you? How could you have imagined that I never thought of snatching him from you? For me, just being able to watch him be happy silently is enough. I can even give up this child. Jiang Wenwan spoke in a powerful voice. And every word she said was to speak up for Xiaoyi. She is accustomed to portraying the image of a gentle woman who understands the bigger picture, and describes their affair as her own sacrifice and Xiaoyi's responsibility. They say they won't fight, but they actually fight. I sneered in my heart and slowly said, "Sister-in-law, I suddenly feel that you are right. Actually, I've missed Xiaoyi a lot during this period, but I'm bothered by the fact that you two had sex and got pregnant. If you really want to have an abortion, I can consider giving Xiaoyi a chance." Upon hearing this, Xiaoyi took a step forward and asked earnestly, "Nan, are you serious?" Jiang Wenwan was stunned, a trace of panic on her face. "Don't you have a fiancé?" I sighed. "I only married him to save my father's company. It was just a show. Xiaoyi and I have been together for 4 years. How can I let go of it just like that?" Jiang Wenwan's face turned pale, she bit her lower lip, and couldn't utter a word. I was feeling very happy when I suddenly heard the sound of light footsteps, from near to far, gradually disappearing. I squinted my eyes and looked into the distance. At the end of the path, a car headlight flashed by. The night suddenly brightened, and then returned to calm in an instant. I suddenly realized that it was Yuqing. He was used to staying quietly for a while before leaving here every time, so, he heard everything I said just now. I immediately turned around and went back into the house, hurriedly took out the car keys, and ran to the car. Xiaoyi called me. I turned a deaf ear to it. I just felt extremely panicked. That man can analyze everything rationally and have everything under control, but he is sensitive and timid when it comes to me. Those words I deliberately said just now were clearly a misunderstanding, but he didn't even dare to show up and question me. I drove directly to the villa. Sure enough, Yuqing's car was parked at the door. I got out of the car and ran into the villa, not caring that my shoes had fallen off. The room was dark and quiet, with only a faint light on the second floor. He walked barefoot through the hall, went up to the second floor, and walked to the door of the master bedroom, where he saw Yuqing at a glance. Under the warm yellow desk lamp, he sat quietly on the head of the bed. Her head was tilted back, her face covered by a burgundy garment. "It's the satin nightgown I wore last time." I looked at him silently for a while and walked towards him step by step. Standing in front of him, I reached out to take away his nightgown, and the moment he opened his eyes, I leaned over and kissed him. He seemed unable to believe it and looked at me blankly. I sat astride his lap and slowly unbuttoned his shirt, slightly raised collarbone, strong chest, rippling abdominal muscles. It gradually appeared in the dim light. With a bewitching look, I ignored him and continued to unbuckle his belt. He shook my hand tremblingly. "My legs will scare you." I leaned down and kissed my way up to his prosthetic leg. His eyes were red and his voice was hoarse. Nan, do you know what you are doing?" I stood up and ordered, "Don't ask, love me." That night, Yuqing treated me like a queen. He submitted to me and took me as his guide. He gave his all and took care of my feelings throughout the whole process. My name kept calling in my ear. Nan. He panted softly, tossing and turning, knowing what I wanted and understood what I needed. I felt like I was trapped in a chaotic and light cloud, swaying in the wind, full and satisfied. It's like lying in a clear stream, with the soft spring water caressing every inch of my body. Enjoy the most pious baptism from the inside out. I saw brilliant fireworks blooming one after another in the sky. I was so overwhelmed by the beauty that I forgot myself completely. I only remember that when I fell asleep, it was already dawn outside the window. When I opened my eyes the next day, it was already afternoon. There was no one around. The white gauze curtains fluttered gently, and in front of the window was a large bunch of beautiful roses. When I got out of bed, my whole body felt like it was falling apart, and I grimaced for a long time. I didn't see Yuqing downstairs, but I knew he was there, because there was an exquisite fruit plate on the dining table and there was steaming soup bubbling in the kitchen. It was fragrant and rich. I was in a good mood, so I just took a walk in the rose field. When I came back with a big bunch of roses, I ran into a tall figure standing at the door like a statue. He hung his head and stood motionless, looking lonely and dejected, like an abandoned child. I called out in confusion, "Yuqing." He suddenly turned around, took 2 quick steps towards me, and hugged me in his arms, but the body was shaking slightly. I was stunned. "Yuqing, what happened?" His warm breath hit my ears, from rapid to gentle, and he seemed to have finally calmed down. "I thought you were gone," he said hoarsely. I burst out laughing and patted him on the back. "I went to pick some flowers. Besides, my car is still parked outside. Can't you see it? I forgot." I felt both touched and sad. He is such a sharp and resourceful person, but he couldn't even think of this. It's obvious that he is too concerned. I said those things last night on purpose because I was angry at them. I suddenly felt a little wronged. You actually left without asking me a single question. If I hadn't noticed you, wouldn't I have been wronged? He held my face in his hands and stared at me with obsessed eyes. I'm sorry, Nan. I am sometimes a coward. Nan. Promise me that no matter what happens in the future, don't leave me suddenly. My eyes became wet. Okay, I promise. 13. I moved to the villa. Yuching became more and more familiar with me, and began to control his movements and the rhythm. He was like a general conquering a city, often forcing me to sob and beg, and to surrender. He just sighed and kissed away the tears that overflowed from the corners of my eyes, whispering softly to me. But still galloping forward, the wedding went on as planned. Yuching bought a 12-carat diamond ring and named it Shinmu. Before the show started, I was sorting out my wedding dress in the VIP room. A strange number called. I answered and heard Xiaoyi's voice. Nan, are you really going to marry him? I didn't want to pay attention to him and was about to hang up, but I heard him speak again. Don't you want to know how Yuching died? My blood froze and I stood there in a daze for a long time before I said, You. His voice was tender. Nan, it's me. I'm back too. I missed you so much when you were away. Can you come and see me? I said sternly. I don't care who you are. I'm getting married today. Please don't disturb me. He laughed softly and said to himself, You saw the diary at the scene. Later, I went to check this infatuated man and found that he was dead. What a pity. He was obviously the richest man. Nan. I came back for you. If you come to me now, I will tell you how to save him. You know, I am the only one in this world who knows the truth. I thought quickly in my mind. He was right. He was the only one who knew the cause of Yucheng's death in the previous life. This matter has always been a hidden danger hanging in my mind. I desperately want to know the truth. After struggling for a while, I said in a deep voice, Okay, I'll go find you now. Tell me the address. My car is parked on the path outside your yard. You can see it when you come out. I looked into the yard and saw a white car parked among the green plants. My cell phone was taken away by the bridesmaid and I couldn't contact Yucheng. Nan, come here now and I'll tell you. You know me. I'll never go back on my word. I gritted my teeth, pushed open the glass door and walked towards the car. The hem of the wedding dress was very long, so I had to hold it up with both hands and move one step at a time. Xiaoyi lowered the glass window and looked at me from a distance. His appearance remained the same, but his expression and posture were like a completely different person. 5 years later, Xiaoyi has become successful and his aura is even calmer and composed, just like now. I walked slowly until I was a few meters away from the car and suddenly stopped. Xiaoyi frowned slightly, opened the car door, and waved to me. Nan, come up. I took a step back, suddenly turned around, and walked back with big strides. No, I can't go. I promised that man, no matter what the situation, never leave him suddenly. He is very powerful. He is the chairman of Yushur Group, but in front of me, he is just a fragile man who loves me so much that he has lost his mind. How he was looking forward to this wedding. These days, he couldn't help laughing whenever he saw a wedding invitation, felt happy when he heard others' congratulations, looked at the photos of the wedding scene over and over again, and even hired a special music team to arrange a suitable background music. He occasionally sighed doubtfully. Nan, am I really going to marry you? I couldn't let him dwell in the doubt and panic of being abandoned by me. Nothing is more important than our wedding. 14. The wedding went smoothly. On the stage, when Yucheng put the Shinmu diamond ring on my finger, his eyes were red and he kissed the back of my hand devoutly. I also burst into tears and thanked God. After we had spent a week of loving each other's honeymoon life, one sunny morning, facing the breathtakingly beautiful rose fields, I told Yucheng about this bizarre experience of rebirth. He sat in the sun and listened quietly. No interruptions, no questions, I said, feeling a little nervous. Yucheng, do you believe me? His bright eyes were fixed on me. Well, I believe everything you said. I was a little stunned. He smiled lightly and said softly, During this period of time, I have always felt like I was dreaming. How could I suddenly have you? I often find it unbelievable and often wonder if there is something wrong with this world. Otherwise, how could I be so lucky? You said that in the last life. We were only married for a year and were as cold as strangers. In fact, I was indeed prepared for this when I proposed the marriage. I do have that diary, but I haven't kept any records since you came to me. Writing a diary is a way for me to express myself when I am overwhelmed and can't hold on any longer. The psychologist taught me how to write. It's such a pity that I didn't end up with you in that world. He wasn't as lucky as me, but I thank him because of him, you were able to see me. My emotions were surging and I couldn't stop my tears from falling. But he said you were dead, and I don't know how you died. I'm so scared. Yuching, let's go find Xiaoyi together, give him any money he wants, and let him tell us the truth. Yuching stood up, walked to my side, and gently wiped away my tears. He gently held me in his arms again. After a long time, some ethereal voices came from above my head. I think I know how I died. My body suddenly tensed. He stroked the top of my head soothingly and continued, I have always felt that I am an unlucky person. I was rejected by my biological mother when I was young, and suffered countless cold stares and bullying when I grew up. After finding a way to return to the Yu family, I experienced the indifference and deception among my relatives, and even a narrow escape from death. Everyone around me left me in a tragic way. Sometimes I wonder if my existence is wrong. I don't really have any attachment to this world. The only thing I miss is you, Nan. If you hadn't appeared unexpectedly, I might have disappeared from this world long ago. Even though I have gained power, fame and fortune, I know in my heart that all of this is just so that I can stand in front of you like a human being. My world was created because of you, and only you. I probably committed suicide. I actually had this idea a long time ago. As long as you are still there and don't belong to anyone else, I have a reason to continue living. If one day you get married and spend the rest of your life with someone else, then it's time for me to leave this world. I guess that's what I did in my previous life. He confessed each sentence calmly and frankly, using a light tone to tell the past and present life of a man who secretly loved someone until death. I buried my face deeply in his arms, my shoulders shook, and I cried uncontrollably. 15. Jiang Wenwan came to see me suddenly. In the underground parking lot, she blocked my way. Looking pale and skinny, my child is gone. Xiaoyi forced me to have an abortion. I was stunned. Xiaoyi was reborn. He and the baby in Jiang Wenwan's belly had been father and son for 4 years. Why would he force her to have an abortion? Her eyes were filled with pain as she continued. I had heavy bleeding during the operation and my uterus was removed. I will never be a mother again. I saw that she looked a little strange and just wanted to leave quickly. What did you come to see me for? She looked at me, her expression suddenly a little confused. Xiaoyi has become so strange. He ignores me and sometimes even looks at me with hatred. But why does he hate me? Haven't I done enough for him? Has he been bewitched by you? Munan, you're already married. I'm so miserable now and have nothing. I beg you, please don't snatch Xiaoyi from me. Okay. As she spoke she came up to pull my arm, but I pushed her hard and dodged. Jiang Wenwan. Xiaoyi and I have nothing to do with each other anymore. Don't involve me in your affairs with him. The next time you appear in front of me like this, I will call the police immediately. After returning home, I told Yuching about this. He pondered for a moment and said, maybe something happened to Xiaoyi and Jiang Wenwan in their previous lives. You were reborn after death, and it seems that Xiaoyi was also reborn. He said solemnly, Munan, I need to investigate Xiaoyi's matter. Try not to go out during this period. Starting tomorrow, I will arrange 2 bodyguards for you. If you go to your father's house, you must let the bodyguards accompany you. I nodded. A week later on Father's Day, I was walking with my dad in the neighborhood. In the 1 minute that my dad went home to get something, I was drugged and passed out. When I woke up, I found myself in a car, tied up with belts, and Xiaoyi was driving at a high speed. Xiaoyi, you are crazy, I shouted angrily. Xiaoyi turned to me and smiled, his voice gentle. Nan, you're awake. Sorry, just bear with it. We'll be there soon. Where are you taking me? I stared at him. He still spoke softly. I remember you like living in a place with mountains and water. I bought a house and you will definitely like it. It's okay if you don't like it. Since I have been reborn, making money is a very easy thing. We can change houses at any time in the future. I looked at him coldly and said in a deep voice, Xiaoyi, I'm already married. Do you know that you are breaking the law? He smiled and said, we have all died once, so why should we live so cautiously? I suffered this loss in my last life and was dragged down by that woman Jiang Wenwan. Now I don't care. Nan. We are the only ones who love each other the most. I can understand that you still hate me now. It's okay, I will make it up to you in the future. I calmed down. If my father finds out that I'm missing, he will call the police and inform Yuching. Yuching will definitely find me. How did you die? I asked. Xiaoyi was silent for a while. He was pushed down from the 28th floor balcony by Jiang Wenwan and fell to his death. I can't believe it. You guys don't love each other very much. How come? Xiaoyi shook his head and said calmly. I don't love her. I have been entangled with her for so many years because I was too indecisive and greedy for the warmth of family. I didn't expect that I would lose you. When I found out you were dead, I almost went crazy. If Jiang Wenwan hadn't ruined my life, if you hadn't shown those photos at the proposal, how could you have died? I hated her so much at the time that I strangled her in a fit of rage. When she was struggling, the child rushed over with a stick, in order to avoid him. Jiang Wenwan pushed me down the stairs in the chaos. It took me a while to digest what I heard, and then I spoke. So you hate Jiang Wenwan and forced her to abort the child. That child should not have been born into this world. I came back to correct this mistake from the root. After a long silence, I finally asked the question, what about Yuqing? How did he die? Xiaoyi tilted his head and glanced at me. It is said that he committed suicide by jumping off a cliff. I suddenly closed my eyes. This man, he actually did that, although I know he is fine now. But when I think about how he gave up his hundreds of billions of assets in his previous life, walked alone to the cliff, and jumped down without hesitation, I feel so heartbroken. I couldn't hide my emotions and my eyes turned red. Xiaoyi's cell phone rang and he pressed the speakerphone button. Jiang Wenwan's voice came from inside, with a strange tone. Xiaoyi, I've been having the same dream recently. There's a little boy crying and calling me mom. He says you're his dad. He cries so pitifully and keeps asking us why we killed him. Xiaoyi's tone was cold. Jiang Wenwan, I have nothing to do with you anymore. You drugged me that night and that's why I got pregnant. Your uterus was removed by accident. Jiang Wenwan complained in a sad voice. Xiaoyi, why did you suddenly change? Don't you like me too? You said many times that you always wanted a mother and a sister. I know you were also moved. Xiaoyi interrupted her sternly. Jiang Wenwan, I have done my best for you. If you pester me again, I will not be polite to you. Bang! The car body was suddenly hit violently. I looked out the window in horror and saw Jiang Wenwan chasing us in a red car. Her voice still came from the phone, eerie and terrifying. I have nothing left. Xiaoyi, you can't do this to me. I used to have a lovely son. But you and that bitch Munan ruined everything. If you want to live together, you'll have to go to hell. Bang! She hit it several times like crazy. Xiaoyi gritted his teeth and gripped the steering wheel tightly. I looked out the window and suddenly felt cold all over. The place where the car is driving now is the overpass where I died in a car accident in my previous life. A feeling of powerless fatalism came over me. I was trembling all over and was extremely frightened. Could it be that the ending cannot be changed at all? A loud bang. The world before my eyes was spinning, and the car was overturned while driving at high speed and hit a bridge pier. The rear of the car caught fire instantly. There was a pungent smell of gasoline all around. In my blurry vision, I saw Xiaoyi in the driver's seat, his face covered in blood, motionless. My body was tied up with belts and my legs were stuck tightly, so I couldn't move at all. People on the road were shouting in panic, but no one dared to come over. It looks like there's still someone alive inside. I looked at the crowd in the distance in despair, muttering to myself, Yuqing, you must live well. The blood on my forehead covered my eyes. In the sea of blood, I seemed to see a tall figure rushing towards me. You can't go through. The car might explode at any moment. It's impossible to save her. The woman's lower body is stuck. Don't waste your life, young man. I saw Yuqing's face. He crouched beside me and took in my situation calmly. I tried several movements, but the seat didn't move at all. The fire at the back grew bigger and bigger, and the gasoline slowly spread towards the fire. I cried and said, Yuqing, it's impossible to save him. Leave quickly. He blinked his eyelashes gently and smiled at me. Don't be afraid, Nan, I will be with you. After saying that, he simply sat on the ground. The crowd around exclaimed, is that person dying? Why don't you just run away if you can't save him? He can't be, He intends to commit suicide for love. Sky. Yuqing's eyes were calm and he hugged me gently. Nan, your head is bleeding. Does it hurt? I was too weak to speak. His eyes were red and he looked at me for a while with a look of heartache. Carefully lower your head. Kiss my forehead, my face, my lips. With a low sigh. Nan, I love you until death. We hugged each other tightly in the fire. 16. The butterfly effect took effect. At the critical moment, a fire truck returning from a firefighting incident drove across the overpass. Less than a minute after we were rescued, the car exploded. Xiaoyi died on the way to the hospital. Jiang Wenwan did not die, but her brain nerves were hit and she became blind. She will also face legal sanctions. 17. My leg was slightly injured and I stayed in the VIP ward of the hospital for a week. I didn't let Yu Qing enter the ward. You don't care about your own life, you just give up without saying goodbye. How can I rely on you in the future? If you don't cherish yourself, I won't cherish you either. I am angry. He almost died with me in vain. When I think of this, I really want to hit him on the head a few times. He stood outside the door, looking sad and helpless. Nan, don't be angry. The doctor said you need to rest. It's not good to be too emotional. I kept a cold face and didn't look at him. He just stood by the door and didn't leave. After a long time, a low groan suddenly came out. I looked up and looked at him suspiciously. What's wrong with you? He frowned slightly. My prosthetic limbs can't stand for too long. I haven't heard you say that before. I used to hold it in. But since you told me to take care of myself, I think it's better to speak out. I pursed my lips, looked at him, and then looked at him again. Come in and sit down. He curled his lips and immediately strode in and sat on my bed. I raised my eyes and glared at him. I asked you to come in and sit on the sofa. Who told you to sit on my bed? He rubbed his brows, shook his head and said, you can't sit on the sofa. Can't what? I can't kiss you. The next second, he pressed over and grabbed my lips and tongue violently. It was just a kiss. Later, somehow, it went in another direction and became unstoppable. I asked him between gasps. When Chef Feng was here, he peeled shrimp for me in the same way. Just now he kept moving, answering questions and solving puzzles. Proper exercise is also beneficial to the relaxation of the body and mind. Is this still appropriate for you, madam? I have been patient for many days. Please understand. How long will you be considerate? Almost. The sky gradually darkened, inside the window. The love between lovers is overflowing. Outside the window, the clear night sky suddenly lit up and several colorful fireworks bloomed, crashed straight towards the twinkling stars in the sky. It is the most beautiful scenery in the world. Story 2. Qingzhe has disliked me since we were young. He said that I would only bring him bad luck. Later, he injured his hand while rescuing me from a big fire. He could no longer hold a scalpel. With red eyes, he said, I will never let you go for the rest of my life. In this new life, I decided to stay away from him obediently, until later, I saw him with scarlet eyes at the corners, doing unspeakable things while holding my photo. Oh no, he, the unreachable flower on the high mountain, has gone dark. 1. Student MOU. For this volleyball game, who do you want to team up with? Student MOU. Someone called me. I suddenly came to my senses and felt dazed looking at everything familiar yet strange in front of me. After the car accident, did I travel through time? Who else could it be? Of course, she'll cling to the thigh of her childhood sweetheart. Everyone knows that the two of them are like conjoined twins. Wherever Qingzhe goes, MOU follows. Someone made fun of me. This was a tennis class in college. My classmates looked at me with ambiguous eyes. But they didn't know that I shivered when I heard the name Qingzhe. In my previous life, Qingzhe rushed into the fire to save me and injured his hand. He could no longer hold a scalpel. The night after he came out of the operating room, I dared to go and see him. At that time, he was lying on the hospital bed. His eyes were obviously red from crying, extremely red. He gritted his teeth and said to me, MOU, I will never let you go for the rest of my life. The guilt and fear of having done something wrong almost engulfed me. Qingzhe's resentful face also lingered in my mind and became a nightmare. At the moment, he was standing beside the teacher, choosing a tennis racket. After hearing the commotion, he just gave me a faint glance and then, as if resigned to his fate, started to pick the second one. The lights in the indoor tennis court shone on his originally pale and cold skin, making it dazzlingly white. Outstanding is probably the word to describe someone like him. He has been good-looking since childhood, had excellent grades, and was also talented in sports. When he grew up, he realized his dream and became a doctor. At a young age, he was already an attending physician in a top tertiary hospital in the capital. With a medical family background, he should have had a smooth and successful career, if it weren't for me. After the teacher called me for the third time impatiently, I almost randomly pointed with a sense of urgency. The surroundings fell silent. Qingzhe's movement of bending over to choose the racket also visibly froze. Even the teacher raised his eyebrows in surprise. The guy I pointed at looked behind him. After finding no one there, his pupils dilated in shock. He pointed at himself and mouthed silently, me. The whole class burst into laughter at this sight. Everyone knew that my tennis skills were extremely poor. Every time I teamed up with Qingzhe, even a sports master like him would be dragged down by me and lose the game. The teacher asked Qingzhe jokingly, Qingzhe, do you have any objections? It was as if he was asking a family member. Qingzhe walked over. When he passed by me, his eyebrows and eyes were cold. Whatever she wants, I really hope she won't hold me back. 2. My throat choked up, and it took me a long time to suppress the uncomfortable feeling. Qingzhe has disliked me since we were young. He said that I would only bring him bad luck. In fact, he was right. Probably no one in the whole world likes me. I was born as a person with extremely ominous horoscopes, a harbinger of bad luck. When I was 8 years old, my parents died in a plane crash. My grandmother was heartbroken and said that I had caused their deaths, so she refused to adopt me. After raising me for 5 years, my grandmother also passed away due to a heart attack. My relatives were coveting the huge inheritance left to me by my parents, yet they also feared my horoscopes. Only the neighbor's family, who had watched me grow up, took pity on me and took me in. They said with determination. The fortune teller said that Xiaozhe's horoscope is extremely strong, you can just test it for him. Since then, I became a burden to the Qing family. Naturally, I also stuck to Qingzhe. He was the one they said had an extremely strong horoscope. Until he was 9 years old, he broke his leg while trying to help me save a kitten from a tree. At the age of 12, because he passed me the answers, he was punished to make a self-criticism in front of the whole school with me. When he was 15, Qingzhe agreed to my unreasonable request and accompanied me to set off fireworks in the yard. I lost control, and a spark landed on his clothes. Soon, it caught fire. We were in a hurry to put out the fire, but on his arm, an ugly scar was left forever. He finally couldn't hold it in anymore and shouted at me angrily, "Mou, can you stay away from me? Since you were a child, you've only brought me bad luck." At that time, my desire for friends was much stronger than my self-esteem. I still followed him like a little tail that couldn't be shaken off. But what about Qingzhe's future, or even his life? I shouldn't be selfish. Qingzhe, don't worry. This time, I will definitely stay far away from you and will never hold you back again. 3. Without my dragging him down, Qingzhe and his new partner really had a tacit understanding. His gaze was firm, and his face was so serious that it was intimidating. He became stronger and stronger as the game went on. The score was already overwhelming, and there was no suspense about the outcome. However, I sprained my ankle when catching the last ball. A loud whistle blew. "Stop," the PE teacher shouted loudly. "Someone come and carry Mou to the infirmary." Through the net, I saw from a distance that Qingzhe immediately dropped his racket and was about to run over. Qingzhe is a good person, although he has a cold exterior but a warm heart. Although he dislikes me, he also remembers his promise to his parents and will protect and take care of me as if I were his own sister. But I can't cause him trouble anymore. Enduring the pain, I bared my teeth and smiled at my partner. "Classmate, could you take me to the infirmary, please?" I reached out and pulled on the leg of his sports pants. Then I showed my canine teeth and threatened in a low voice, "Otherwise, I'll pull your pants off." The boy who had been hesitating quickly picked me up and rushed straight to the infirmary. I was in so much pain that I was almost fainting. My head tilted, and just before I closed my eyes, I saw Qingzhe's direction. He stood there, his face stiff, and didn't take another step forward. "Qingzhe, see, I didn't trouble you this time either." 4. I was transferred from the infirmary to the provincial hospital near the school. That kind-hearted guy accompanied me all the way. I asked gratefully, "Classmate, what's your name?" He showed an expression as if the sky was falling. "You chose me as your partner and asked me to send you to the hospital. People who don't know might think you have a crush on me, yet you don't even know my name." I scratched my head in embarrassment. He said angrily, "Baiyang, could I trouble you with one more thing? Could you bring me food for a few days?" He jumped up and down in anger. "I'm warning you, don't push your luck. I'll pay you." He shook his head. "One should not be swayed by poverty." I stretched out 2 fingers. 200 yuan a day, and the meal money is separate. Your humble servant is here. Miss, you can rest assured and recover. I'll take care of everything, thanks to Baiyang. I had already started eating before Qingzhe came to bring me food. He stood at the door holding a lunchbox, frowning as he watched me eating until oil was dripping from the corner of my mouth. He said stiffly, "Didn't the doctor tell you that you shouldn't eat greasy food during your recuperation?" Baiyang's eyes lit up and he stood up suddenly. "I'll immediately prepare some light food for Miss Student Mou. He has such great professional ethics." I gave an approving look at Baiyang's departing back, but I didn't know that this look took on a different meaning in Qingzhe's eyes. His hand holding the lunchbox tightened a bit. "What's wrong with you today?" I turned my head to look at him in confusion. "What's wrong with what?" His Adam's apple moved. and it took him a long time to reluctantly say, "In your previous tennis classes, didn't you always team up with me?" I lowered my head and started eating, mumbling. "Didn't you always think my playing was bad?" "I didn't, anyway. I also want to make some new friends." "New friends?" His eyes narrowed slightly as he repeated the words one by one. "Yeah, didn't you tell me since I was a child that I shouldn't just follow you and that I should make more other friends? Also, you don't need to bring me food anymore. Bai Yang will bring it to me, after a long time," he sneered. "Why didn't I see you being so obedient before?" "Fine, I'll have an easy time. I can have a few days of peaceful days without anyone bothering me." He turned around and left without hesitation. I held back the sourness in my eyes and comforted myself. "Very good, Mou. You have taken the second step. You have been able to refuse Chingzai's care." When Bai Yang came back, half of the soup in the takeout bowl had spilled. He chattered and complained, "Is that Chingzai crazy? The road is so wide. Why did he bump into me? You're familiar with him. Was his cerebellum underdeveloped when he was a child? Does he always sway when he walks? Hey, wait a minute, miss, why are you crying?" It was the saltiness of the food that made me cry. 5. When I came to the classroom to attend class on crutches, I saw that the teacher who had always disliked me showed obvious relief in his eyes. Probably he thought I was strong in spirit despite my physical disability. In fact, it was because Bai Yang told me that this class would cover the key points for the final exam. Chingzai sat in the first row as usual, his back straight, and he was looking at the blackboard seriously. His gaze didn't even fall on me once. The seat next to him was empty. In the past, I would definitely have sat over there with a playful smile. Then, under the teacher's disappointed gaze, I would have slept through the whole morning. But now, Bai Yang and I secretly huddled in the last row. "Miss, didn't I tell you that I would draw the key points and lend them to you to copy later? Rely on him." I looked at him with disdain at the two big dark circles under his eyes because of staying up all night playing games. "Forget it." In class, the two of us were just about to write quickly, but the teacher just casually pointed out a few places and then said calmly, "Except for the few places I just pointed out, everything else is key." I flipped through this brick-like textbook with more than 600 pages. I stared at Bai Yang. It really felt like the sky had fallen. As soon as the class bell rang, I angrily picked up my crutches and left. "Where are you going?" "To find the department head to change my major." "WOC, Miss is so heroic, I'll go with you." Before the two of us could take a step, a gloomy voice came from behind. "You want to change your major?" I felt a chill down my back. When I turned around, I saw Chingzai holding a notebook and looking at me with a gloomy face. "Did he encourage you to do this?" "Bai Yang, may the heavens distinguish between the loyal and the treacherous." Looking at Chingzai's clenched fist, I silently protected Bai Yang behind me. "I want to change my major myself. I don't like this major." Chingzai was stunned. "Why? Didn't you say since you were a child that you admired Hua Tua and that you also wanted to study medicine to save lives when you grew up?" He tilted his head and looked at me in confusion. I closed my eyes. I didn't dare to open them. People can't even empathize with their past selves. Who knows what nonsense I used to come up with just to be able to stay by Chingzai's side when I was a child. I said that when I was naive. Why do you still remember it? Anyway, I don't like this major, and I must change it. I was too guilty to look at his face. I turned around and pulled Bai Yang, ready to run. I only heard a disappointed and cold sentence from behind. "Mou, it seems that I still don't know you well enough. Whatever you do, you're half-hearted." I sniffed my sour nose. "Chingzai, you still don't understand. I'm doing this for your own good. How dare I use your future as a sacrifice for my selfishness?" 6. Since that class, Chingzai and I haven't said a word to each other. It has always been me who took the initiative to find Chingzai. Since I didn't contact him, naturally, he wouldn't contact me either. Bai Yang and I, however, established a deep friendship, and we decided to transfer to the School of Liberal Arts together next semester. According to his words, the two of us are both warriors trapped in the cage of the School of Medicine because of love. Because of love. When I wanted to ask him more about it, he refused to say more. 7. The tennis club proposed that after the final exam week, everyone go for a barbecue dinner together. We were all freshmen. Our enthusiasm for socializing was burning brightly. Both Chingzai and I were members of the tennis club. At first, I joined the tennis club to improve my tennis skills, and then I pestered Chingzai to join with me. But the courses in the School of Medicine were really too full, and I only came to the club a few times in total. Naturally, my tennis skills didn't improve. Chingze has always had little interest in this kind of gathering, he would rather stay in the laboratory. As his follower, I would naturally sleep outside the laboratory and wait for him. Anyway, it's the same to sleep anywhere, right? So, the club president was a bit surprised when I signed up for this dinner, a rare guest. When I got there, I found that I wasn't the only rare guest. 8. The club president rented a villa with a lawn in the countryside. After having the barbecue and hot pot, everyone gathered around the campfire and played the game You Have Something I Don't. Chingze walked straight over and sat beside me. There were quiet jeers around, and people's eyes kept moving between the two of us. Did Chingze forget that we had a quarrel a few days ago? I moved to the side. He grabbed my arm and pulled me back, his tone displeased. What are you hiding from? Am I a plague god? I immediately lowered my head and pretended to be dead. The club president came out to smooth things over and asked the first question. After chuckling twice, he said cunningly, I was admitted without taking the exam. This immediately stirred up public anger. Showing off, Yuan Bo, what are you pretending for? You're a pretentious guy. Kick him out. Despite the commotion, except for the club president and Chingze, everyone else put down one finger. Chingze was also admitted without taking the exam. Moreover, he could have been admitted to an even better school. 2 top universities were competing for him, but I tried my best and still didn't get admitted. Later, when filling out the college entrance examination application, he directly took my application form and copied it. He has always been so calm and rational. S University is not bad either. Its ranking is only second to those 2 universities, and its medical major is top-notch in the country. I turned my head and secretly looked at him, but I happened to meet his dark eyes, serious, focused, and also filled with resentment. I felt even more guilty. Chingze probably hates me a lot, right? Because of me, he gave up a better future. 9. The second question. It was the turn of a cute girl on the left side of the club president. Her cheeks were flushed, and she quickly glanced at the tall boy sitting opposite her. I have someone I like. Oh, everyone looked at the 2 of them with ambiguous eyes. The boy was so intrigued that his face was almost blushing. I stared at them, lost in thought. So, is a crush this obvious? In fact, my roommate Shafu once asked me if I liked Chingze since I followed him around every day. Do I like Chingze? When I was a child, the people I liked the most were my parents. Later, they died in a plane crash. After that, the person I liked the most was my grandmother, but she also left me soon. Since then, I no longer dared to like anyone, so I smiled and replied to her, I just regard Chingze as my brother. He's the only one who plays with me. After coming back to my senses, I silently put down one finger. I don't have someone I like, and I don't dare to have someone I like anymore. Chingze's hand was leaning towards my side, and his 5 slender and fair fingers were just hanging in the air openly. For some reason, my heart suddenly twitched. It turns out that Chingze already has someone he likes. I heard that Chingze has been getting very close to the beauty of the department recently. Last time, I even saw them coming out of the laboratory together, chatting and laughing. I sniffed my sour nose. Chingze can't stay by my side forever and be my brother alone. I will definitely have a sister-in-law in the future. Before the feeling of sadness faded away, my hand had already clenched into a fist, and all 5 fingers were down. MOU lost. Come on, have a drink. The club president wickedly poured me half a glass of wine. Just as I was about to reach out to take it, Chingze intercepted it. His eyebrows and eyes were cold. I'll drink for her. No need, I lost, so I'll drink it myself. You're a girl. How will you get back to the dormitory if you get drunk? I said distantly. I sent a message to Bai Yang. He'll drive to pick me up later. For some reason, Chingze's face darkened even more. He looked at me as if he wanted to cut me into pieces. Then, without saying a word, he drank the wine in the glass in one gulp. Just after showing off his coolness, the next second, he fell straight onto me. What on earth is Chingze pretending for? He can't hold his liquor at all. Just one glass and he's out. 10. Chingze, when he's drunk, is even harder to control than a pig during the spring festival. Less than 2 minutes after falling down, he was clamoring to go back to school. Whoever tried to support him would get slapped twice, and he would just keep falling onto me. When Bai Yang came, he even received a series of fierce slaps. With great difficulty, we dragged Chingze into the car. I looked at Bai Yang's Audi A7 in shock. This guy calls me miss all day long. It turns out that he's the real young master. Bai Yang looked at him, then at me. He said in an embarrassed tone, Miss, why don't you sit in the passenger seat? Just leave him in the back seat. I'm afraid he'll go crazy from the alcohol and bite someone. Qingzhe hugged me even tighter. There was no other way, so I had to sit in the back seat with him. I don't want to ride in his car. He leaned on my shoulder and complained, say that again. And I'll throw you out, I threatened him. Qingzhe shut up and smacked his lips twice. The corners of my mouth curled into a sneaky smile. Qingzhe is usually cold and serious, but once he drinks alcohol, his temperament changes completely. The first time I saw Qingzhe drunk was in our senior year of high school. Qingzhe, who had always been serious and solemn, stood by the rooftop singing out of tune Love You, and we couldn't even pull him back. A bump jolted my thoughts back. Bai Yang glanced at him with a look of disgust through the rearview mirror. He probably was still holding a grudge for the slaps just now. He said resentfully, "Miss, let me tell you, a man who can hit people is not someone you should be with. We definitely can't be stuck on this crooked tree. If you want to find a boyfriend, I'll introduce someone to you. I know all kinds of 188 centimeters cute boys and mixed-race handsome guys." My eyes lit up. Really, suddenly, a sharp pain came from my shoulder. Bai Yang was right. How can this guy really bite people when he's drunk? After biting me, he even looked aggrieved on his own. I'm also 188 centimeters tall. After saying that, he completely fell into a deep sleep. 11. When I woke up the next day, I saw a message from Qingzhe. "When are you buying the plane ticket to come back?" I laughed out of anger. This guy doesn't even remember that he bit someone after his hangover. And I hold grudges. You can go back by yourself. I made an appointment with Bai Yang to go on a trip. The typing status on the other side kept flashing. It took a long time for him to reply with a message. "Are you serious? It's fake. That guy is so poor now that all he has left is an Audi A7. He even mooches off me for meals." Under my intense questioning, Bai Yang finally told me the truth. He had a conflict with his family. Now, not only has his credit card been blocked, but he's also making a living by washing dishes in the school cafeteria. What a story of a down-and-out young master wandering around. Feeling sorry for him, I suggested taking him to a restaurant. He wolfed down the food as if he hadn't eaten for 3 days, and mumbled with his mouth full, "Miss, remember to reimburse me for the gas money from last night." Just as he finished speaking, a beautiful couple walked over side by side, Qingzhe and the beauty of the department. Bai Yang and I stiffened at the same time. Both of them are outstanding people. Whether it's their appearance or their academic performance, they are at the top level. They are really a perfect match. They sat at the table next to us. Bai Yang's eyes wandered for a while before he dared to secretly glance at the beauty of the department for a moment. I understood immediately, for some reason. I suddenly felt a sense of empathy as if we were both people who had fallen on hard times. So I picked up a big drumstick and put it in his bowl. 2 fierce gazes landed on me at the same time. Something's not right. Why is the plot going wrong? It's understandable that Qingzhe is glaring at me, but why is the beauty of the department glaring at me too? Pretty sister, I didn't provoke you. Bai Yang was still carefree and didn't notice the strange atmosphere. "Miss, is it true that you said you would take me on a trip?" Qingzhe finally couldn't stand it anymore and stood up, slapping the table. His beautiful eyebrows were almost knitted together, and his eyes seemed to want to bore a hole in me. You're not going home just for a guy who lives off women, right?" The beauty of the department cast an unhappy glance between the two of us, and then looked at Bai Yang with an unfriendly expression. "Bai Yang, I didn't expect that after not seeing you for so long, you've already resorted to living off women. You really disappoint me." I waved my hand, trying to explain. "We just want to go out and have some fun and get to know each other better." Get to know each other better. Qingzhe raised his eyebrows, filled with anger. Bai Yang also put down his chopsticks. No, she insisted on spending money on me, and of course, I'm happy to accept it." "Qingzhe, she insisted on spending money on you." The beauty of the department, "You're happy to accept it, great." The more I explain, the worse it gets. It really seems like I'm a young lady and he's a guy who lives off women. Qingzhe's Adam's apple rolled, the corners of his eyes turned red, and his eyes stared fixedly at Bai Yang. His well-defined fingers clenched into a fist, and the veins on his hands bulged. I know Qingzhe, he's always calm and self-controlled, and he's indifferent in dealing with things. This is a sign that he's angry. I quickly pulled Bai Yang and slipped away. "We have something else to do. We're leaving now." 12. Halfway through our escape, Bai Yang finally dared to ask me timidly, "Has your childhood sweetheart ever killed someone?" Why do I feel like his eyes just now were trying to torture me to death? I thought seriously for 2 seconds and then nodded slowly, hesitantly. Qingzhe hasn't killed anyone, but he did almost cripple a lecherous man's private parts for my sake. In the first year of junior high school, there was a flasher on my way home from school. He was probably a pedophile and had molested primary school students before. I was so scared that I burst into tears. At that time, Qingzhe was just like he was just now, his eyes red with anger, his fists clenched. He almost beat that guy to a pulp before sending him to the police station. And he himself was seriously injured and stayed in the hospital for half a month. Bai Yang was even more terrified. His face wrinkled. Miss, does your childhood sweetheart like you? Qingzhe likes me. How is that possible? Since he was a child, he has hated me the most and been annoyed by me the most. He protected me just because he regarded me as a troublesome sister. That resentful face appeared in front of my eyes again. MOU. I will never let you go for the rest of my life. I shook my head, trying to shake off this shadow from my mind. He sees me as bad luck and a burden. But I'm also a responsibility that he can't avoid. He just regards me as his sister. Then why do I feel like he has a strong hostility towards me? I looked at the yellow hair on Bai Yang's head and touched my chin thoughtfully. According to my experience on the internet, no brother will have a good impression of a guy with yellow hair. You're the one with yellow hair. This is a genuine 24K pure blonde hair color. He grabbed my shoulders and shook me vigorously. I felt dizzy from this shaking. How dare you? I'm the young lady. The proletariat has to resist once in a while, right? My phone vibrated. At that time, everyone was still using QQ, and Qingzhe was my special concern. He sent me a message. MOU. Do you like him? I recalled the scene of Qingzhe and the beauty of the department standing together just now. He's naturally cold and has never liked the approach of the opposite sex since he was a child, during his adolescence. He could be so abstinent that he regarded pornographic videos as garbage and drugs. Now that he can go in and out with the beauty of the department, he probably has developed feelings for her. He should be standing beside a better person. My chest felt stuffy, and I typed back to him. Qingzhe, this has nothing to do with you. Who I make friends with and who I like have nothing to do with you. I've grown up. Don't worry about me anymore. It wasn't until I heard Bai Yang apologize in a panic that I realized there were wet things running down my cheeks. Miss, why are you crying again? I was wrong. I won't shake you anymore. I wiped away my tears. I'm not crying. It's just the wind. When we reached the corner, out of the corner of my eye, Qingzhe was still standing in the restaurant. His gaze passed through the transparent floor-to-ceiling glass and landed on me, his expression obscure. 13. Bai Yang and I didn't go on the trip, because Qingzhe told me that Uncle Qing and Aunt Qing would come back from abroad in advance before the spring festival and wanted to have a reunion dinner together. I believed it, then I was deceived. I looked at the empty villa. Only Qingzhe was sitting on the sofa, his legs crossed, his hands clasped and placed on his knees. In a full state of scrutiny, I picked up my suitcase and turned around, wanting to leave. Suppressing his anger, he said in a low voice, MOU, let's talk. I sat back down as if resigned to my fate and stared at the floor, lost in a daze. Why on earth have you become like this? I played dumb. Like what? Qingzhe's eyes narrowed dangerously. You used to just follow me around, didn't you? What's going on? Do you have new friends and have forgotten about me? Me? I've grown up, Qingzhe. Qingzhe lowered his voice, and his tone became dangerous. It's this, I've grown up again. I'd rather you didn't grow up and were always as clingy and obedient as when you were a child. I vaguely felt that the atmosphere was a bit off. I always felt that Qingzhe had been possessed by someone. The previous him was gentle and cold, and he would never be like a vaguely angry beast now, wanting to swallow people up. I stood up abruptly. My friend has something to ask me. I'm going out for a while. He suddenly grabbed my wrist. You want to go find Bai Yang again? Are you together? He was gripping me so tightly that it hurt. I also felt a bit of dissatisfaction. So what if we are? What right do you have to control me? Qingzhe completely exploded. He pulled me closer. What right do I have to control you? MOU. I brought you up. I helped you clean up the mess every time you caused trouble when you were a child. The person who has always been by your side is me. Now you're asking me what right I have to control you. He's right. He brought me up. Uncle Qing is the president of a pharmaceutical company, and Aunt Qing is also a tycoon in the medical field. They are both very busy. Over the years, Qingzhe has been both a father and a mother to me. I felt a pang of guilt in my heart. However, I'm a harbinger of bad luck. If I get close to Qingzhe, I will only bring him bad luck. He should have a bright future, if I really want what's best for him. I should stay far away from him, at least I should protect his hand. I lowered my head. Qingzai, just think of me as heartless. Please don't worry about me anymore. I don't need you to take care of me. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Bai Yang. Qingzai saw it too. For the first time, he snatched my phone, then he locked me up. 14. When I heard the door being locked, I was still too shocked to come to my senses. Is he crazy? Qingzai, let me out. Are you insane? But no matter how much I banged on the door, all I could hear was a faint, sorry, and the sound of footsteps getting farther and farther away. Something's not right. Qingzai is not acting right. I sat back on my bed, trying to calm down and figure out his abnormal behavior. Even if he objects to me being with Bai Yang, he wouldn't go this far, or could it be? Absolutely impossible. The moment that thought came up, I firmly rejected it. Finally, it was the aunt who came to clean at the fixed time who opened the door for me. I ran downstairs and was just about to confront Qingzai when I only saw the messy wine bottles in the living room. How much did he drink? Most of my anger dissipated, leaving only a bit of worry. I knocked on Qingzai's bedroom door, planning to get my phone back, but after knocking several times, there was no response from inside. I pressed my ear against the door, but I didn't hear any sound either. Normally, Qingzai is quite rowdy when he's drunk, and I have a deep impression of that. Could he have alcohol poisoning? The shadow of my previous life once again enveloped me, and my heart seemed to be about to jump out. Could it be that I still hurt him? I twisted the doorknob like a madman. As soon as I opened the door, an extremely faint and sticky moan completely cut off my rational nerves. Qingzai was sitting on the floor, looking at the end of the bed. In front of him was a huge projection screen. When I was a child, I often came to his room to watch movies with it, but now, there was only a photo of me hanging on that screen. The room was not lit. In the dimness, only a faint white light fell on the man's confused face. The corners of Qingzai's eyes were crimson, his eyes were filled with a watery light, his lips were slightly parted, and he was still moaning intermittently. Looking further down, my legs went weak. My heart stopped for a moment, and I unconsciously took a step back. Bumping into the door behind me, Qingzai looked over, as if blaming me for disturbing his mood, and his eyebrows furrowed slightly. Sorry for the interruption. Why you can continue. I'll leave now. Just as I turned around in a panic, I heard a sticky MOU coming from behind, then came a heavy gasp. My mind went completely blank. 15. The next morning, Qingzai knocked on my door and asked me to have breakfast. He looked natural, as if he had forgotten everything that happened after he got drunk. On the contrary, I was so unnatural at the dining table that he frowned and asked me, "What's wrong with you today? You've choked 3 times while eating." After saying that, he thoughtfully handed me a glass of milk. I coughed twice and quickly took a sip. Qingzai's eyes looking at me became darker and darker. Then he reached out his hand, his index finger gently lifting my chin, and his thumb slowly rubbing across the corner of my lips. His eyes landed on my lips, full of aggression. I widened my eyes and was just about to back away when he retracted his hand in time and then naturally started eating his breakfast. I had been so curious about what happened last night that I couldn't sleep all night. Come on, just ask. But the words turned around in my mouth several times, and I still couldn't ask. As soon as I thought of the scene from last night, my face began to feel hot. "If you want to ask something, just ask," he said. "Do you still remember?" "It's nothing. I want to go out for a while. Please give me back my phone first." I felt that if I stayed at home any longer, I would really explode from holding it in. No matter what explanation Qingzai gave for his actions last night, I couldn't accept it for the time being, so I chose not to ask. "I remember." He took a sip of soybean milk. "I remember everything I did last night. Anyway, it's not the first time. You don't have to be so nervous." My behavior when I'm drunk may not be good, but I have a good memory, he continued. "I remember the time I kissed you when I was drunk in our senior year of high school, and the time I held you in the car during the last club dinner." My mind went blank. I opened my mouth. I had so many things to ask, but it seemed like I couldn't ask anything. Subconsciously, I said, "Qingzai, do you like me?" He lowered his eyes, and his earlobes turned red unnaturally. He nodded slightly, almost imperceptibly, as if he was shy. I froze completely. 16. I made an excuse to go to the supermarket to buy some New Year's goods, wanting to calm down. Lu Dehua's "Wish You Prosperity" was playing in the supermarket, and the atmosphere of the Chinese New Year was very strong. Qingzai followed me closely, and I couldn't shake him off. What's more, his temperament had changed completely. and his tone when speaking to me was so gentle that it seemed to be dripping with tenderness. I pleaded, "Brother, can you be normal?" Chingze was a bit angry. "Don't call me brother." I was taken aback. Chingze had never liked me calling him brother since we were young. I originally thought he was annoyed with me, but now. I got my phone back and started frantically sending messages to Bai Yang. "Chingze likes me. Do you think he's crazy? Bai Yang, even a dog on the street can see it, but you can't." Chingze seemed to be picking and choosing in front of the shelves, but in fact, his eyes would glance at my phone screen from time to time. He chuckled, "Even that fool can see it, but you can't." I was dissatisfied. "Don't call him a fool." Chingze raised his eyebrows and laughed angrily. He's been secretly in love with Chingshui for so long but didn't dare to confess. It made her so angry that she thought he was going to play with her feelings and abandon her. The title of fool wasn't given by me. Chingshui was the beauty of the department, so they were an alliance of lovelorn people at that time. Chingze pushed the shopping cart and continued walking forward, leaving me standing there in a daze. There was the sound of footsteps approaching from behind. A surprised voice brought my senses back. "Mou, it's really you." I looked at the person in front of me for a long time before I had some impression. Chinan smiled. "It's me. You still remember me. Well, I also gave you a love letter in high school. The handwriting was ugly, so you might have some impression." He scratched his head awkwardly and stammered, Do you have a boyfriend now?" "What love letter?" Before I could ask, Chingze took my hand, his tone cold and hard. "Was the lesson I gave you last time not enough?" Chinan left with an embarrassed face after saying goodbye to me. After Chinan left, I asked him through gritted teeth, "What love letter? Did you throw away all my love letters?" "I said that I was beautiful and did well in my studies in high school. Why didn't anyone confess to me?" "So the obstacle was here." Chingze's face looked a bit unnatural, and he said stiffly, "Just to prevent you from having a puppy love. These people were still giving you love letters in the senior year of high school. Isn't that harming you? Especially this guy. He would stuff them into your locker at 5 o'clock sharp every morning, which made me unable to sleep well. So, for a while in the senior year of high school, Chingze went to school at 5 o'clock for a whole month. I thought he was annoyed with me and didn't want to go to school with me. It turned out that he was throwing away my love letters." "Me, Chingze. Don't you think you're meddling too much in my business?" His face changed, and he held my hand even tighter, as if afraid that I would leave out of anger. "I'm not meddling in your business, I'm just eliminating those who oppose me." His face turned red again. "It's enough to have me by your side, I will protect you well." As he spoke, the corners of his eyes also turned a little red. He looked at me stubbornly and said, "Since we were young, haven't I protected you well? It's enough to have me. Why do you still look at others? Oh no, why has the unreachable flower on the high mountain turned into a yandere?" Thinking carefully, Chingze has really been very good to me. The harshest words he ever said to me were just that sentence, "You will only bring me bad luck," when we were young and ignorant during our adolescence. But it was that sentence that made me want to stay away from him. My heart was in a mess. I shook off his hand and was still a bit dazed until we checked out and left. Chingze just quietly followed behind me, his eyebrows and eyes melancholy and dim, but his gaze never moved for a moment, until his exclamation, "Mou, be careful." Then came the harsh screeching sound of the tires rubbing against the ground as the wheels made an emergency stop. I was pushed away. 17. Chingze was sent to the operating room. I sat on the chair outside, my body shaking uncontrollably. Because I'm a harbinger of bad luck, that's why my parents, whose careers were booming and who loved each other deeply, were killed because of me. Because I'm a harbinger of bad luck, that's why my grandmother, who loved me, suddenly died of a heart attack at home. Because I'm a harbinger of bad luck, that's why the people around me will all get hurt, those who love me and those I love will all be implicated by me. Tears streamed down my face in big drops, and I sobbed uncontrollably. Fear almost enveloped my entire body. I liked Chingze, I just dare not admit it. During the 2-hour operation, every minute and every second, I was in an extreme hell. I was in a daze, thinking, why wasn't it me who was hit? Why wasn't it me who died back then? It wasn't until the operation was successful and Chingze, who was still in a coma after being given anesthesia, was transferred to a general ward that I was pulled back from hell, but I didn't dare to see him. After paying the medical expenses, I sat on a stone pier at the entrance of the hospital in a daze, until Chingze found me in a wheelchair. He sighed and wiped the undried tears on my face with his thumb. "Why are you crying like a little cat?" I choked back a sob and apologized. I'm sorry. He looked at me with pity. I'm not blaming you, but I'm the one who hurt you. I'm a harbinger of bad luck. I've only brought you trouble since we were young. My family members were all killed because of me. Chingze, I don't want to kill you too. He frowned. Is this why you've been distancing yourself from me? I raised my wrinkled face from crying and nodded. He laughed angrily and flicked my forehead. You've at least received Marxist education. Can you have some materialist thinking? How can someone be a harbinger of bad luck by nature? But that's what they all say. Chingze was both angry and felt sorry for me. Don't listen to their nonsense. Everyone has their own destined fate. The death and misfortune of anyone have nothing to do with you. Why do you have to take the blame on yourself? But you also said that I would only bring you bad luck, and I have indeed brought you a lot of bad things. All the injuries you've suffered since we were young were because of me. A look of guilt appeared on Chingze's face. Sorry. Those were just angry words at that time. I'm really sorry, but I didn't get hurt because of you. It's because I love you. I love you, so I want to protect you. All the consequences brought about by love should not be borne by the one being loved. This is my own choice, and I'm willing to pay the price for this choice. I was still crying sadly, but Chingze, I always feel that my life is like a curse, and I can't get out of it. He gently pulled me into his arms. His tone full of pity. It's not that you can't get out of the curse, it's that you can't get over the death of your loved ones. Finally, I burst into tears. He coaxed me softly. I've liked you since we were young. Protecting you isn't a responsibility, it's because I like you, because I love you, so please don't push me away anymore, okay? Since we were young, it's not that you can't live without me, but that I can't live without you. After saying that, he hugged me even tighter. Feeling insecure, even if you push me away, it doesn't matter. In this life, I will never let you go. I was suddenly stunned. Chingze also said this sentence in my previous life. However, it once became my nightmare, and I didn't want to recall it. But was it really as I thought before, that he said it out of resentment? I originally thought that my death in the previous life would be a relief and something to be glad about for Chingze. For some reason, my heart felt as if it had been hollowed out, bringing boundless empty fear. I said blankly, Chingze, if one day I die. He almost embedded me into his body. There's no if. In this life, I will protect you, and you will have a safe and smooth life. I asked him eagerly, if I really die, what will you do? What should you do? He smiled bitterly. I don't know. I can't live without you, if what you said is true. That there are strange forces and supernatural things in the world and that people have their own fates, then let me bear all the misfortunes in your life. Suddenly, it went pitch black in front of my eyes, and I fainted. 18. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital bed. Only Chingze was by my side, numbly guarding me, his empty eyes staring at my hand in a daze. I didn't know how long he hadn't slept. His white eyes were filled with bloodshot eyes, and there was a stubble of beard on his chin. He looked in a daze, just like I was when I was waiting outside the operating room. I moved my fingers, wanting to touch his face. He suddenly raised his head, and in his eyes that met mine, there was great surprise and hope for life, as if he was the one who had survived a disaster. Xiaoyu, I'm sorry. Tears welled up in his eyes. I almost forgot that I had been in a car accident to save him. I wanted to repay his kindness. I smiled. Chingze, you once told me that all the consequences brought about by love should not be borne by the one being loved. I love you too. There were footsteps at the door of the ward, and two familiar figures walked in holding hands. It was Bai Yang and Ching Shui. Oh my, miss, you're showing affection again. The sunlight shone in through the window. Here, there is everything I love. 19. After the car accident, did I travel through time? Until I told him about the guilt in my heart, Chingze expressed. Who said my childhood dream was to study medicine? He helplessly supported his forehead. Since I was a child, whenever I was sick, it was my mom who gave me injections. I've always hated this profession deeply. I was shocked. Then why did you? Chingze, wasn't it you who said since you were a child that